Yo, yo, yo! How's everybody doing today? I see Pantaray's in the chat. Yeah, I started even earlier than yesterday. I figured, you know, it's Sunday. I'm sure a lot of people, they might have to tune out early because of the, because of work or something that they gotta go to early in the morning or something. So I was like, you know what, depending on people's time zones and stuff, let's just start, you know, slightly earlier than, even yesterday. Give people some time. If you guys want to stay into the stream, it'll be great, but not gonna force you. Let's see. As we can see here, I got Aegon to spawn, so we'll have some fun with him in a little bit. We don't care about you anymore. Actually, no, wait. We have some bones to show off to you, so let's do that. Now, I did dump my stats last time, so yeah, we're ready for this. We just need to be prepared for... I don't think we need pyromancies for a while. I think I can... Yeah, I think we can pretty much ignore pyromancies for a bit. Oh. I'm glad you appreciate it. Make sure... Make sure that everyone can have as much fun as we can. And I am going to try to do some more streams at radically different times to let different people at different areas who watch the VODs but would like to tune in for the stream, you know, let everybody get a chance. Do we have anything for you?
I suppose. I don't mean to seem overbearing, but have you forgotten?
Nope.
In exchange in the form of, I hope.
Nope. Yes, we get it. You really like promises. Let's see. Yeah, we gave him another scroll. He gives us another spook spell. Yeah, so everything's more or less going how we expected. We just need to give him one more, I think. Yeah, because we just need to give him Logan scrolls, but that'll be a while. I forget, is it you defeat 2 bosses, he leaves you, or is it if you defeat more than 2 bosses, he leaves you? It slips my mind. If it's more than 2, then we might have to skip, what's his face, Old Demon King. Nail. What about you?
I know you. Been some time. I just dropped in to see how she's getting on.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Now, what are
He
you
likes
playing
her.
with this circus? This cesspool of doddering old folk and degenerates.
Can't deny that.
Couldn't be better. She must fit in perfectly here. This place is a good one.
Yeah. Not gonna say anything else. Actually, what else do we have in terms of books? I don't think... Yeah, we don't have too much. Besides this, so... Okay. Well... First off, I think it's about time we have a look at our soul weapons we could get if I didn't destroy all my souls. So...
Fret not,
Yeah. I'll give a transposing kiln.
Oh, belike it is a transposing kiln in thy possession. Seen better days, but methinks it shall suffice. Now,
Yeah.
transposition is the art of extracting and coalescing the essence of a soul. In transposing a twisted soul, its true power transferreth to thee. Thy purpose is to seek lords and slay them. What's to fear in a little transposition now?
Oh, is it just until Abyss Watchers that time limit's there? Okay. Because I legit don't remember. Let's see. Okay, so Ludleth here, of course, has a special fancy little art he calls soul transposition, or the Japanese means like molding, drilling, killing. It's a very generic word, so transposition is not a bad translation in my opinion. But the point being is that he takes these kilns and, much like say a potter with his clay, kind of just starts molding it into the essence of the soul's qualities into something. And this is done through crystal lizards, because it's a bunch of stitched crystal lizard skin. And the idea being is that, much like how crystal lizards sort of take the soul, the sort of the power of magic and souls in Titanite, and sort of filters that through a crystallization process, we see the same thing happening here, where the souls are basically used in that same kind of filter. Now crystal lizards obviously were a creation of Seath back in Dark Souls 1, of the many products as part of his research into crystal, that ended up sort of, getting out and becoming like little vermin everywhere. And we can see how Seath himself had developed a similar art that he had shared with the giant blacksmith before he went completely cuckoo. The idea being is, of course, that you take the qualities of the soul, the memories that soul has, the feelings that soul has, or just or things that manifest in its physical nature of the body it possesses, and take those things and sort of extract into different weapons. Sometimes that means it'll create a weapon that they owned in life. Sometimes that means it'll be a weapon that they saw someone else possess in life that's really close or meaningful to them from a certain event. Sometimes that means just creating a spell that sort of acts as like a manifestation of that emotion or feeling or memory or event, etc. So you kind of see how there's just like a lot of flexibility with this concept of soul transposition. Now, Ludleth seems to tell us that there was a country called Corland. Corland actually had essentially seemingly developed an expertise in this. Most likely they seem to have developed it independently, just, taking crystal lizards, understanding their process, and then developing the molding kilns from there. And then, as we can see, Ludleth is in exile, telling us that very likely his country of Corland had gotten rid of him for some reason. Very curious that. Given the fact that he is, in fact, someone who has very formal speech, he clearly, obviously knows a very, very powerful art and things of that nature. We can assume that Corland was, of course, a country where people like Ludleth were of high status because of their mastery of this art, especially if it's something that so characterized Corland to eventually become notorious for it. And then finally we get this little idea of, okay, so he understands that eventually soul transposition had quote-unquote debased Corland's honor. So something happened before his exile that caused Corland to essentially become on the world stage, a country that lost its respect because of its art. Anyway, so now focus on what we can do. Crystal Sages, nothing too notable here. Yeah, just basically just showing off their skills. Of course, again, this is Deep Soul from the Soul of the Deacons, like Royce. The idea being is that Royce and his ilk actually learned sorcery from McDonald of the Boreal Valley. He's the one who brought it, so the reason why we see them kind of using their candlesticks as like sorcery staves in order to like cast little like flame magic there is because that apparently McDonald, one of the arch deacons / bishops, was in fact a sorcerer. Well, that's kind of weird. A cleric is a sorcerer. Is it Dark Souls 2 all over again? And in the way of white? Gasp. Well, this plus the fact that Aldrich, another cleric, who ends up being a cannibal, who turns into a monstrosity that gets shipped out to the Cathedral of the Deep, it becomes pretty clear here that, something's going wrong at in this place called Irithyll. Boulder, again, this is again related to the Stray Demon, because again, its flame is being reduced so it doesn't even really have a smolder, so it's just rock as a pyromancy. Yeah. Again, this also reinforces the idea that pyromancies, again, they're not literally pyromancies, they're like spell arts, and the idea being that, of course, you can use quote-unquote pyromancy to cast non-fire spells. It's just that most of the religion and the philosophy causes it to revolve around fire for the most part. Thank you, Aldrich. Yes, thank you, Aldrich. Here we go. We see with the candlestick again. Here. Again, getting across the fact that McDonald is the person who sort of spread this sorcery to Royce so that they could use that, and now that they've embraced the deep, it's becoming even more useful. Hollow Slayer Greatsword, one of the curses that was trapped here. This is obviously Lucatiel's old sword. Again, some of her soul ends up in the sword with the memories of her fear for hollowing and things like that, and that's become manifest in the sword's ability to do extra damage to hollows. Wolf Knight's greatsword. Now, this is especially important. We talked about last stream about the idea that there's the Wolf Knight, the Wolf Blood's master, and it's like, okay, well, does that refer to the old wolf then? Well, you know, because a master, or another way to translate in the Japanese would be like an owner of like the wolf blood. It's like, well, doesn't that if that doesn't refer to the old wolf per se, it could also refer to say maybe like the actual person who's the master of the old wolf and thus his blood, or maybe even goes back even further than that. We see here, of course, the idea that the Artorias is referred to as basically the master of the wolf blood of Faron. Well, it's like, well, that's odd. And the old wolf of Faron, someone who should have never met Artorias, can actually have his soul used in order to derive Artorias' greatsword. Well, that's a curious little detail. And of course, the idea being is that Artorias was the first Abyss Watcher, so there is that connection there. But how does it that we get from the Artorias' sword comes from a wolf's soul? And the idea is like, okay, the best way to put this is Artorias ends up falling in the events of the Ulasil DLC, but Sif still lingers on. Now, Sif was taught from Artorias and has, of course, a deep personal experience with the knight, so... and that training that we know that Sif has is manifest in the sword that was used in Dark Souls 1. Now, because Sif was a sort of like a trained successor to Artorias, it's imaginable that some of Artorias' soul might have in fact been shared in the same way that we see how the old wolf is sharing its soul with the Abyss, the present-day Abyss Watcher. So it's sort of like kind of like a reverse. And then from there, we see how the idea is like, okay, so if Artorias' soul in Sif, then that soul would then be passed down to Sif's descendants, and then that would eventually lead to the Old Wolf of Faron. So you kind of had this idea of where the soul is the master of the wolf blood, and that essentially the Old Wolf soul is also, at least in part, Artorias' soul. So the Abyss Watchers are literally, through their blood-drinking ritual, sort of having some essence of Artorias inside of them, which is further driving them on top of the wolf aspect. Hey, Teen Sith, welcome in. We also have a Russian viewer in the chat, so I can't pronounce that. Thank you. Been binging my content 2 years straight. That's great. That's great to hear. I'm so glad. Thanks for tuning into the stream. Faron Greatsword, again, just highlighting what we know about the training that goes into Abyss Watchers. Once you take the wolf blood and you have that strength, okay, now you got some wolf strength plus Artorias' wolf knight strength in there. So okay, now you can learn how to master this powerful greatsword. You can also use this dagger, almost like a wolf's claw or tooth or something to that effect, and it creates this interesting fighting style where you're fighting like Artorias, but also at the same time fighting like a Sif or a wolf. So nice little balance there. The Crystal Sage's Rapier, again, they've spent a lifetime of discovery, so you get some discovery power by wielding their rapier. You could also maybe infer that maybe they had a backgrounds as like nobles or something of that nature before they became like these sort of sages, but obviously they've clearly spent their lives not in luxury, but just kind of out in the field trying to understand sorcery, especially crystal sorcery, and teaching it to others. Demon's Great Axe. This is for the regular demon. So nothing too special here. Just a normal, demon. Got some fire in their sword. Axe. Nothing unusual. Vort, again, nothing that crazy unusual. Just kind of gives us an idea for Frostbite, which of course gives us an idea of what the Boreal or Cold Valley is like. So not crazy. It's also of course a new stat, so they're trying to really kind of put emphasis and focus on it, since it's like one of the wholly unique things to Dark Souls 3. Arstor's Spear, again, the idea that Arstor is now known as the Impaler. We talked about this last time, is the idea that Arstor was, of course, someone who was always kind of suspicious back in Dark Souls 1. He was someone who was basically a dark heretic. He was doing a lot of very seedy experiments. That's certainly the way of White wouldn't approve of. And it's very clear that now, in historical retrospect, he's sort of remembered for being this, for all these awful things that he's done. And one of his creations, as we can see, is using this rotten, quote-unquote, heavily poisonous meat that restores HP when you do it, much like, again, a dark power. So you can, again, kind of get this idea that, yeah, Arstor was not a good dude, and he's no longer remembered as a good dude, much like how Karim has had now a makeover since his in his legacy, well, not his legacy, in his wake, that they are now like, okay, we're all about clergy and holiness, and we're good now. And even Velka sort of rebranded herself as Katha for that end. Now we've got a demonic again, nothing special here. Again, demons, fire, etc. We know how this goes. And then Havel's ring again. This is an interesting idea in that we have a weapon related to Havel, but we're deriving it from the stray demon. The point being is that, of course, the stray demon is made of rock. This ring is also related to rock, and of course, Havel's whole stick is rock. So again, this is them kind of playing a little fast and loose, but conceptually it works. And then finally, of course, the Pontiff's left eye. This is again one of the first items that give us a really good idea of Pontiff right off the bat. And the point, of course, being is that Vort isn't just sort of attacking us purely of his own volition. He's partly being driven crazy as well by the fact that he's being quote-unquote like hounded by these eyes. And the idea being is that those who stare into the eyes become sort of fascinating and warped, and it's somehow invoking or drawing out like sort of this primal nature within us, which of course starts out when you just acting sort of like a beast, but then of course you will also eventually physically become a beast, as we'll see later. And yeah, obviously, when you have powers like that, these rings are, of course, only going to be given to those who are being sent off into on foreign campaigns, because the idea is being, okay, well, if they're going to go be out battling, they're either going to die and they're not going to make it back. So it's like, okay, well, or they might survive and then they'll come back, and then I'm just going to be sending them out again maybe next time we need it, because otherwise, like, what am I going to do? Irithyll doesn't really need isn't really the type to be constantly warring. So it's like, okay, let me just at least send them out. If they die, they die. If they don't, they'll become like these beasts that'll at least win, and then we can kind of bring them back and keep them as like animal pets or something like that. So
treat the Firekeeper not with discourtesy.
Oh?
She is much like thee. Prisoners both, kept to link the fire.
I would never do anything to hurt waifu. I promise.
Aha, thou return. So,
anything else?
Most illustrious Lord
Right.
Seeker, fine kindling foot, and all slain by thy hand.
Yeah.
I have no quarrel. In fact, methinks thou'st helped these poor lords.
Yeah, okay, so nothing new there. Let us move right along. Oh. We don't have anything new from here. There's nothing to talk about with Granny.
You oft the Lords of Cinder, the Undead Legion. So that's how they delivered to their thrones.
It's a promise. I'm serious.
I pity the sorry souls. Is that really Lordship's last reward?
Now again, like we said last stream, Hawkwood here put his old buddies on a pedestal as much as he sort of threw himself constantly in the gutter. So there's this notion of, okay, no matter what he does, no matter how pathetic he is, he'll never be able to reach the lofty status of his comrades, and we're in the same boat as him, right? So he can at least take comfort in that. Well, now he understands, no, even even heroes can fall, in the literal sense, not just the figurative. And it now kind of really dawns on him that, like he always said, he understood them for the pitiful beings that they were, but he at least understood their pride, their respect, everything they had. That at least they had that, and now it's sort of just depressing him. Like, wow.
I failed to thank you.
Here we
for helping them find their final resting place. I pity the sorry souls.
Yeah. On par with Gurman saying to use the doll. Okay, I wasn't being that creepy. I take offense to that. Listen, we don't know. I don't want to know what Gurman's been doing with the doll before the hunter arrives, okay? Like, don't defame me like that. All right, I think that covers everything. Let's do the bones. Now, as we were saying, up until this point, we've basically been going on a journey. We did the Cathedral of the Deep Root. Now we're doing the the Faron Keep route in this wonderful visual novel called Dark Souls. Unfortunately, the husbandos didn't cooperate. But the idea, of course, being is that Faron was this land that has mixtures of Ulasil around Lothric. Some undead came through at some point, met up with the Old Wolf. The Old Wolf basically agreed to give them some of its power, so that way they could form this legion to fight the Abyss wherever it cropped up. They were evidently very successful. They created this massive fortress. They were able to attract many undead and create many heroes. They ultimately made an alliance with Lothric, so that way they could continue acting directly under its purview without it being like, hey, we have a bunch of undead forming a military right at our doorstep. This could be bad. And conquering them. So, in the end, they were doing very successful. But of course, when the time came to link the fire and a lord was needed, the Abyss Watchers were well, I guess we don't know if they were asked or if well, I guess they had to be asked because they had to be told. So basically what happens was when the Abyss Watchers were aware of this, oh, Dark Race must be killing stuff out there. Okay. They were told that, okay, everything's good. We will link the fire and become the new lords, and everything will be a-okay. And they were like, okay, this will work out. Like, it'll take about, like, I guess, what is this, like 100 of us or so? We'll go and link the fire. The rest will stay here. They'll continue on as they always have, and everything will be fine. Well, things weren't fine. As soon as they linked the fire, the Old Wolf basically was also drained by this. The lycanthropes began appearing as the wolf blood inside of them started being roused and acting up. This forced all the acolytes at the Magic Academy, as well as the general staff, to try to keep the whole lycanthrope problem under control. The result was that everyone ended up hollowed. And then the Abyss Watchers come back, realize what's gone wrong, and so ended up sort of condemning themselves to an eternal purgatory and a free-for-all. Until we come in and finally give them, as Hawkwood says, a place to rest. So, we get this idea, though, of course, that they were not just performing this ritual anywhere. They were specifically placing it, a mausoleum, right on top of Carthus. Now, the mausoleum presumably was to honor the dead. We see something similar in Bloodborne. In fact, I'm actually writing a thesis talking about those very areas. But the point being is that the idea is like, okay, this was a great kingdom which had fallen to the abyss and was destroyed. It is the perfect example for others of why we do what we do, why we're even willing to bury a whole country to stop the abyss, because sometimes it's that, or let the whole country be destroyed anyway by the abyss. So, hey, pick the merciful death. At least we can do it quicker, right? And then the mausoleum was essentially built to honor them. But that leaves the question. What's going on with this catacomb, with all these walking skeletons and things around? Is it just like your average catacomb? Just, you know, sometimes the dead rise up again when they're like that? What's going on here? And what's Carthus? What's its story? Well, time to find out. Now, unfortunately, as I said last stream, Carthus is, I think what everyone agrees, is one of the worst areas in terms of design. There we go. And let's not forget this. In large part because it's so much copy-pasting of assets. But we still get a little bit of character in seeing how they decorate itself with this sort of morbid skeletal looking thing. So it definitely doesn't look like it's a very happy place. Well, probably happy for the people who live here, but you know, for everyone else. And then our first item here is Carthus Rouge, or Rouge. There we go. Which sort of gives us the first idea of how Carthus was this place where warriors essentially, they really liked bleed, which makes a lot of sense considering the type of weapons we see. A lot of curved weapons, things that historically in Souls games have been used to kind of represent, okay, you slice, you dice, and you really, really let that blood flow. Try to really dig in deep into those arteries. pull out my... Again, this will probably be a relatively quick area in terms of running through, just because there isn't that much to talk about in the environment until we get to the lower levels. Even that's somewhat limited. There we go. Oh. Do we want to know? We're not... Not falling for that. It's not here, right? No. Yeah, gotcha. Soul of a Nameless Soldier. Now, obviously, we're going to see less travelers down here. We're going to see more soldiers and the like, just because Carthus seems to have been a warrior nation. Yeah, just skeletons all over the place. And we can imagine that maybe there were, every now and then, maybe an Abyss Watcher or two who might have come down here or something like that. But again, it's very clear that the Abyss Watchers didn't look very closely, as we'll see as we reach the lower levels. One thing worth noting, of course, is how this place is very plain here. It'll be very different as we reach lower, and that does in fact have some lore significance. Though again, I wish they did more with the environment than the game actually does it. It's one of those things with a remake you could think this area could really use a blow up. Oh my god, stop. I suppose one thing to point out here is of course how Carthus has a clearly a very swift and fast fighting style relative to other warriors we face. They also have a very sort of Middle Eastern look where it's more about having hoods and jewelry and not so much else on the clothes. We also, of course, saw up above something similar with the way they wear their thick cloths and things like that. Sharp gem. Again, more focus on bleed and sharpness and speed. Illusory wall here. We'll worry about you after this. There we go. Carthus Pyromancy Tome. Yeah. And then we have the idea that Carthus's pyromancy had developed in isolation for other forms, explaining their divergent evolution. Now, one of the funny things here, and I think it looks like it's been corrected since then, was that originally this said, learn pyromancies of the advanced pyromancies of the Great Swamp. Now, it looks like they didn't fix the, I guess the localization didn't fix the advanced part and just fixed the Carthus part. So, that's good, but again, it's one of those examples of, you know, sometimes typos end up even in the Japanese script and they gotta get fixed down the line. Alright. So again, we have this idea that Carthus was very independent from the other countries which are pyromancy. Which makes sense, because most countries don't have pyromancy. God dang it, I'm not fast enough. Ooh. Pyromancy was mostly seen in other countries outside of the Great Swamp or Izalith when it came to Cursor. Ooh, nice, got that early. Mostly when it came to places in the New World in Dark Souls 2. So your Jugos, your I don't think Mara was a good example. Your Drang Lake, stuff like that. Your Alkins and Vens. Now the point, of course, is that this gives us a hint that Carthus might have developed in the New World, where it could have very easily have known much more about and developed much more about pyromancies compared to the Old World, where pretty much pyromancy is just a Great Swamp thing. Lloyd and company didn't want anything else but the Orthodox. We're not going that way. Let's go up here, make sure we killed everything. Yeah. And then, on the subject, of course, of Jugo. Jugo was, of course, one of the most prominent pyromancy countries because of its special female pyromancers. Though they were also, of course, because Dark Souls 2 is Dark Souls 2, they were called sorcerers in that game. Oh. Oh, you didn't take advantage, my friend. Sucks for you. It was this desert nation which had revolved around pyromancy and took advantage of the feminine wiles in order to make use of it. Now, going forward, we'll learn how Carthus is, of course, a desert nation. And that, and for other reasons, I have my strong suspicion that Carthus is the successor nation to Jugo. We don't exactly know, of course, what happened to Jugo saying that, but we can imagine that one way or another, there was regime change. I can't believe that hitbox connected. That was much wider than it looked. Of course, we went to yeah, go kill yourself. Take this blood red moss clumps again because of there. Thanks, Tight Night Lizard. Can I? Nope. Alright, I guess we'll have to do this the hard way. There's no secret route over there either. Now obviously, Anri and Horace are on a mission to find Aldrich, allegedly, because it is part of our same mission to find and defeat the Lords of Cinder as unkindled ash. We do see Anri and Horace show up at Firelink Shrine, but again, we see lots of people that aren't unkindled ash show up at Firelink Shrine, so that might not be as meaningful as you'd first think. Of course, Anri here is very distressed because...
Oh, hello. How very fortunate. Have you seen my companion, Horace?
Nope.
To my shame, I was snared by a trap and we've become separated.
Yeah, there's a lot of those here. I don't think I've pulled one, though.
I've not been able to find him since.
Nope.
Yes, I see. Horace is a valiant knight. He can look after himself, no question. He's probably searching for me right now, with twice the resolve. If you happen upon him, please tell him that I remain in the catacombs and will lay prism stones to guide him, as always. Please send him my word, I beg of you. May the flames guide your way.
Now again, we're reinforcing this idea that Anri has been sort of like joined at the hip with Horace for a very long time. They clearly care for each other very deeply, and if they've ever been separated for any amount of time, they've always used prism stones in order to act as guideposts to kind of help them track each other down if something ever goes wrong. So the fact that she can't find him, she's not too concerned, but obviously it does stress her brow just a little bit. She can kind of feel the panic creeping up on her, but she's like, no, it's okay. I'm sure he's fine. He's out there. He's doing it. Everything's fine. Nothing's wrong. We just got separated because of some weird trap or something of that nature. I'm sure that everything will be good once we continue forward. Now, the nature of this trap isn't clarified exactly, but if it's something that separated them, I think the one that's hiding up here might be the best bet. So let's first trigger it. Calls up. Oh. I don't know how that missed me, but I'll take it. Now, as we can see, there is a skeleton ball that is rolling back and forth between these two walls. If you go to my website, you will be able to see a better still shot of this ball. Though actually, can we reduce... I'm not sure how useful it's been. Advanced settings, I think? Yeah. Let's get rid of motion blur. Yeah, that might be better. And personal revenge, why not? Shh! Spoilers! Now, as we can see, the cause of this ball is this skeleton buddy over here. He was wearing the Mortician's hat from the Undead Settlement, so we get this idea that he is someone who takes care of the graves. Now, we learn here that there are, in fact, grave wardens, or gravekeepers, that do take care of the graves here, which makes sense considering that this Mortician boy seems to be performing some necromancy. Now, let's, we don't want him running away, so they'll come back. Now, classic FromSoft, they make you try to run down here trying to escape, only to discover that your way out to the bonfire is behind a gate, and that you can't open the lever to that gate. Can't pull the lever. Now, once the necromancer is killed, the skeleton balls disperse because they can no longer apparently keep together. They just become this wilding mass of skeletons that fall apart. We get an undead bone shard, again, no surprise. Yeah. Sucks. We will head back up here. Yeah, we're gonna have some fun in a moment. Ember. Now we're gonna take the way back to the shortcut over there. Simply because I wanna again highlight to us how we are supposed to be at like the topmost level of these catacombs, so they've been pretty plain up to now. But as we start going lower, we start seeing things change, and it does give us some indications about Carthus's lore. Boop. 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 Oh. Okay. Came down here with your buddy, huh? Yeah, nothing interesting. So we just go here. Now we shall continue. Oh, actually, yes, keep doing that. I approve. As you can see here, instead of fire bombs, Carthus has humanity bombs. So we got a bunch of Dark Souls stuffed in a leather sack. They release when they burst, and of course deal dark damage. And because humanity is humanity, it has this pursuing nature, but on account of its natural life. Now, this of course gives us the hint that if the Abyss Watchers bothered to just go a little bit deeper and dig under the surface of these catacombs, they'd realize, oh hey, the dark is still being used here. The Abyss is still alive and well, and it's right under our feet. We should do something about that. Classic Abyss Watchers. They're trying, okay? As we can see, oh, thank you. As we can see, more look at the skeleton bones. There's also, trapped in these pots here, more humanity. So you can see how they've been taking Dark Souls and stuffing them and stuff, which of course gives you a question of, where are they getting these Dark Souls? How many people have Carthus killed? Through here. This here should be safe. Go this way. Carthus Milk Ring. Again, this is to highlight how Carthus as a nation is... Where are you? There we go. To kind of show that Carthus as a nation is more about using skill than just brawn. They do obviously have weapons that have really high strength, but they also make sure to emphasize dexterity. And we have this idea that of course, they roll around effortlessly, and they try to act like almost a cloud of sand that is constantly moving around and forcing you to have to struggle to keep up. We also, of course, get this idea that Carthus has this High King, or High Lord Wolnir, whose entire shtick... Trap. Whose entire shtick is, being a tyrant. And conquering the lands. Come on. There we go. Titan shard. Not coming back now, are you? And again, the bone piles keep getting bigger and bigger. Now, as I said here, things change as we get down lower. We start seeing that there are actually these streams of water down in the catacombs. And you're like, well, you know, water leaks in and goes through all the time. But the weird thing is, it's extremely uniform and organized. As we can see here, it goes down these long shafts this way. And then curves down to behind us. And of course, it's got little balconies, but also part of it is underground. I want to look. There we go. As we can see, this waterway is also home to a bunch of rats. Now, we typically see rats, as we recall from the Undead Settlement, in places like sewers. So the indication would be this would be at least the remains of a sewer, meaning that the catacombs weren't just built from scratch. They were built based on existing infrastructure. And it makes sense. Sewers down below, we wouldn't see them further up above, where things would be building our houses. But with that comes the implication that these catacombs of Carthus are in fact Carthus. The very capital was converted from a metropolis to a necropolis. Huh. That's a scary thought. Which would explain why the Abyss Watchers didn't know about there being the Dark. They thought that this country was destroyed and someone just built a catacomb. I mean, that makes sense, especially if it's a faraway nation that they've only heard legends about. But in fact, Carthus seems to have destroyed itself. And sort of reincarnated itself as a kingdom of the dead. Which is a very fascinating concept, considering we don't really see anything like that, except for with Nido, and certainly not from humans. I guess you could say that Horace is boned. Listen, I'm sure he's fine. How can he be boned? He's okay, like Anri says. He's probably just looking for her. That has never been a line in a horror film right before people die. Never. Miyazaki would never be so cliche in his dark fantasy game. You deserved it, punk. Carthus was destroyed when they named the Carthus milk ring. Brilliant. Oh ho ho, from software. You almost got against my better instincts. You almost got me. More embers. I hear a bone wheel. Again, another drop. Large Titanite shard. And finally, salvation. So again, Carthus design-wise does have something going for it. This little detail here is nice. The sewer line hinting at how this city was converted is nice. It's just a shame that we don't see more hints to this further up. It would be really cool if they did something like you can see the remnants of skyscrapers and towers and buildings and stuff, and how they've kind of been bricked up in between to form these catacombs coves, or areas that have been sort of obviously broken open in order to make room. Because you have to imagine that the whole city being converted, that was a massive building project that had to be done incredibly quickly, especially when you're like killing all the builders and the populace. So, again, there's so much more that could be done with this area. It's likely because they were having different ideas and things changed over development. But again, it's a shame, because this is a very cool area and concept. Yes, die. Like we said, rats belong in sewers. Another hint at what this once was. More Titanite shards. We're not stealthing this boy. Oh my god, you are so fragile. Nothing else? Okay. Also notice how it's been bones, 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 but as soon as we hit water, it's all corpses. Now this is sort of building upon an idea we first see in Dark Souls 1 of how, much like how we talked last time, how fire, or specifically the light of fire is time. So if fire basically has dominion over time, we see then naturally water, which douses it as its opposite, would have dominion over some sort of anti-time. So much like what we see in New Londo, we see how corpses left down beneath, left to soak in the water, don't rot or decay. They're basically kept frozen. So these guys stayed in the same horrifying moments when they were all killed. Clearly, Wolnir and his army were totally making sure that it was only willing participants in assisted suicide. This totally wasn't coerced. It also doesn't help that the area is very short. Yes, it's an area that feels like it should be bigger. Like it should be more expansive up top, leading to more dead ends and stuff like that. And same thing down here. Instead, it's like, oh, okay, you kind of just roll around very quickly and do it. Again, this is an area which, if there was ever a remake, I would heavily lobby for them to do more with this area. Again, keep the basic layout the same, but again, give it a glow up and like expand it out so you really feel like this was this crazy catacomb that you could get lost in that was once a grand city of a. So water slows time, so then what does snow do? Well, here's the thing. Water may not just slow time, it may literally just, like, freeze it. Again, like I say, if fire has dominion over time, then we can imagine water might even just be, like, the antithesis of time, a sort of anti-time that kind of just keeps time from flowing for these things. So they just stay on these unrotted corpses. But, the idea with snow then would be, okay, so in the cosmology, snow as we see is similarly associated with sort of a freezing effect. And to a greater degree, you can argue than just plain water, but also just the act of it being cold, it being chilly, has effects on our stamina and things like that. So again, this idea of stamina is energy, and it's typically associated with fire because, you know, you live out in the sun, you get lots of energy, photosynthesis and all that, you get to move and start taking actions. Well, if being cold, the opposite of the warmth of fire and its light, hurts your stamina, well, that makes sense because, of course, you get colder, less movement. You're like, brrr. So again, we can kind of see basically same idea. There may be some additional things with cold, but we'll wait till we get to Ariandel to talk about that. Chill, be gentle like the dark. Yes, and recall, the dark, the water is incredibly underutilized in this game's cosmology, at least as far as the narrative is concerned. It's all about the light and dark dynamic. So fire is usually always put opposite its dark, its consequence of the dark afterwards. You don't really get this idea of fire and water focused on. And as we can see with the dark does have some watery aspects. There's the fluid. Obviously, it's usually much more viscous, but we do see the idea of fluid and watery material related to the dark. So there is a connection in the grander cosmology there. Again, Abyssal Archive will talk a lot about that stuff. In fact, right as we get toward the end. Now, that crystal lizard gave us a fire gem, which of course foreshadows what we will find over that ledge there. Let's see if we can ruin this guy's day. Yep. I didn't get the backstab I wanted, but... Yellow bug pellets. Now these bug pellets relate to a giant sandworm, quote-unquote, that had come through here. Sandworm basically kind of burrowed through and went all the way down. The idea being is that apparently this worm has lightning attacks, so they tried to use bug pellets in order to deal with the lightning. And then eventually it fell all the way down to there and has basically stayed there ever since as the master of the domain. Can't tell you why. But again, this idea that Carthus has these sandworms that were brought over along with the rest of the land. You gotta imagine how something that big managed to stay not just like plowing through everything up until this point, but whatever, c'est la vie. Is the true about the sandworm being Solaire? No. Doesn't help that over the series you encounter snow mostly in paintings, which are stagnating dumping grounds for things that don't fit in the real world. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Snow is often not depicted as a place that most people want to go. Like, Dark Souls 2 is the only place that really kind of gives us a real world look at snow, and even that is magical based. Same thing with volcanoes, though, right? Like, Dark Souls 2, we don't get a natural active volcano. It's because of Gwyn's soul that is causing the lava in Iron Keep / Alkin. So, of course, Broom Tower. So, like, the idea being is that, and of course, Izalith was the original source of lava back in Dark Souls 1. So, the point being is that the world of Dark Souls is very plain, outside of it being, like, the earth and the rock, trees, you get some rivers and lakes and stuff like that, and Dark Souls 2 introduces us to ocean, but we have no idea if ocean actually existed prior to Dark Souls 2. Or, I guess I should say, we don't know if ocean existed before the end of Dark Souls 1, so... Because obviously Dark Souls 1, there's no talk of oceans or ships or anything like that. So, again, it's sort of left somewhat... ambiguous on how much oceans are a product of the natural cosmology versus a product of the stagnation. For again, back to this point of water being anti-time and all that, and the whole fading of the flame and all that. Yeah. Anyway, again, read my stuff on Hyde as well as Abyssal Archive. I promise it'll cover all that stuff in detail. Let's moving right along. I'm not scared of you. Black bug pellets. This is again more foreshadowing for what's up ahead. These of course relate to the Grus. It gives us the impression that the acolytes, the Grus, or at least the acolytes before that were ancestors to the Grus, had in fact come down here. So yes, they apparently did more work than the actual Abyss Watchers. Who would have thunk? They did. Our dumb undead legion. They and the executioners honestly belong together. True OTP. Embers. All right, we got a skeleton ball to get rid of. Time to free a crab. Oh. Right, I'm embered! Ah! I forgot! I'm embered! So, Zorig here is the so-called Night Slayer. Ha! Get right. Oh! Get wrecked, idiot. Yes, do not use your massive shield. Just keep using that greatsword. But as we can see here, Zorig is a so-called Night Slayer. He makes it his job to hunt down knights wherever he can find them. Apparently it's just a fetish. Dang it. I missed the mark. I didn't stand in the right spot. There we go. Yes. Come on. Perfect. And we done. I do still get the gesture, I think, so we should be good. Yeah, we do. We get the my thing. So if he slays you, if he completes the hunt, he will, in fact, perform this gesture to basically taunt us. You'll, of course, get a ring. Now, you may notice several details about Zorig that is worth pointing out. One, he wears this Night Slayer's ring. Yeah. Here we go. And the common, the point of this being that, he seems to have gone against the original owners of the ring, namely the knights from Ilium Lois. And then he pried them from their cold, frozen fingers. So it tells us, okay, so Zorig's been all the way to the New World and fought, Knights of Ilium Lois. Well, he's also got the sword of, what's-his-face, Raimi. And the idea being is, of course, that Raimi there is another, of course, important knight to Vendrick before they kind of had a falling out. The point being that sword being is that, okay, he's been to Broom Tower where we last saw Raimi and apparently picked up the sword there. Now, if I recall correctly, we only can get the sword from Raimi's soul, but obviously we slay him there, so we can imagine that the sword would be left with his corpse. So, again, this of course assumes that we actually do slay him in Dark Souls 2, that the DLC events are canon as far as the player's actions are concerned. Either way, he clearly has collected various knight paraphernalia, the most important being is his set, my set soon, the Black Iron Tarkus set. Now, Tarkus was already dead by the events of Dark Souls 1, as we see. His armor was last seen in the painting gallery, outside of, just outside the painting, sort of shuffled off to the side by the Guardians after he apparently unceremoniously fell to his death. Poor guy. The point being from there is that, it's a bit interesting as it would imply that Zorig has been to Anor Londo to collect the armor, or more possibly someone else collected the armor and then he got it from them one way or another. And that sort of limits the pool. Oh, wait, this is why I need pyromancy. I forgot. Okay, so much like with Aldrich, these enemies are called Crawling Carrion. They are literally the rotten meat that is brought to life. As we can see, there's lots of rotting meat here. Now, the dead, when they're not revived by necromancy, typically are revived as the typical ghost stories go. They're very resentful, and those strong grudges in death cause them to come back to life in one form or another, as a ghost or as here, reanimated flesh. So again, the idea being is these quote-unquote slimes, as the localizations called them in Dark Souls 1, and I think even in this game, are in fact actual pieces of flesh which have which are green because of like mold and all that. Oh, this is gonna be such. Yeah, I'm not. I'm sorry. You're not worth the souls. You are not worth the souls. You are though. Revenge! This is my vengeance walk right now. Gosh, these guys in Dark Souls 1 deserve all the suffering. At least they're not nearly as annoying as they used to be. They were like, hey, these guys are kind of dumb. Let's tone them down. There we go. Oh, come back. There we go. But again, it reinforces the idea that all of these guys were not killed willingly, in case those wonderful smiles didn't let you know early. Oh, I walked into that one. Hey, stop munching on me. Carthus Blood Ring. We don't care. So let us move right along. Well, that Zorig's dead. I have literally no reason. Oh, no, wait. We want to reset for Anri and stuff, so let's head back. Oh, no. Let's do upstairs here first. So we clear up all that, so then it's just the bridge. Yeah, right. This is much better. And then we'll go save our, we'll free our crab friend. Oh. Oh. Darn it! Now, as we can see, Carthus likes its fire arrows. Again, fits in with their pyromancy stick. Some titanite shards. Some more Carthus rouge, or rogue. Let us go. All right. Crab. As we can see, we do find a crab who will chase us around inside of the skeleton ball, as well as a dark gem because again Carthus is fallen to the dark. Now, I am not someone who will take the developers putting a crab inside of a skeleton ball that you are only have the option of breaking to any real seriousness. But if we do want to try to justify in the lore why our buddy is here, we know that from the Faron Woods that these crabs do exist in the area. We also know that this crab can drop the white kind of poison moss type deal that helps with freezing, which we normally acquire in the area up ahead in Irithyll. So we can get the idea that this crab might be from the Irithyll side of the pond and ended up kind of like finding its way down here, where it ended up getting kind of wrapped up into the necromancy for the skeleton ball by accident. The crab is Slayer. Or that, yes. Clearly that's the better theory. How could I not have realized that? Honestly, isn't Slayer in all of our hearts? So really, we're all Slayer. I poised you! Actual poise in this game. What is that? There we go. Alright. Now, one thing that you've, of course, may notice is that we have fought 2 Gravekeepers. Both of them are, of course, have joined the ranks of the dead. However, these Gravekeepers, generally speaking, do seem to have been alive up until recently. As we learn from their ashes. Yeah. This guy seems to have died of old age. I mean, can't imagine living in the catacombs when you're like 90. Huh, who would have thunk that'd kill you? Anyway. The point being is that he started out as a squire. Again, like I said last time, squire more literally means like a knight apprentice. So the idea is like, okay, so you have all of these Knights of Carthus, these warriors that we're facing, that we see around here. These guys were like young squires, maybe 7, 12, etc. Very young people, that type of age range we're talking about. And unlike everyone else, they were left alive, so that way when the soldiers, after they enforced their High Lord's will to kill everybody else, they would then kill themselves, and then finally the Gravekeepers would be trusted to handle them. And as we can see, they would use necromancy, bring them back, yada yada yada, make sure that they have life after death, so that way they can continue. Very loyal, very good, very faithful servants of Carthus for its new age. And then in the end, if they died, they have, of course, assuming they always had the option, of course, of just joining the dead themselves. So they would just stick around to take care of things, and then they can finally have rest as one of the dead in the end. So this guy's had a long life down here. We also, of course, will get some items related to that, and because the idea being is that as a knight apprentice, you're obviously doing menial tasks for the knight. So it's like, okay, you know, Squire, go fetch me my sword. Squire, go wash my armor. Squire, go gather all my belongings and things for battle, etc., etc. And now that they're not going to necessarily need that, because they're no longer going to be conquering, they're going to be enjoying their time in this kingdom of the dead. The Squire basically doesn't need to do all that stuff for him, but because he is so loyal to his knight, he will make sure that he sort of does it out of habit, keeps on carrying them around. So many uhs today. Oh, get through there. Okay, now we can reset the area. How many level ups can I get out of this? Only one. Wait, did I forget a skeleton? I did not forget a skeleton, did I? Oh, okay, it's one of the patrolling ones over there. That's what it is. Hey, buddy. Where are you? There you are. Oh, I forgot about you. There. Nice and quiet, as all dead should be. Let's go do dramatic irony with Anri now. First level up. We'll also drop off our thing at the granny so we get again a better look at the various items that this what was fightings in wars in Carthus like. Let's see.
Welcome.
Yes. Now that good old Zorig is here, I've got to prepare for my weapons. Hello?
Ah, well met, Ashen One. How may I be of service?
Let us see.
Gracious. Passing.
Yeah, you know, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so the new items added. Again, the yellow bugs. The kukri. Now, these are things that bandits now use because Carthus is dead, but it used to be their signature type of throwing knife that they would use. Because, again, their whole shtick is being fast and agile and constantly keeping the opponent distracted. Again, we already know about that. Nothing too crazy otherwise. Oh, yeah, we don't need that. Nothing on the spell front.
Ashen One.
Yeah. We don't have to worry about you, I don't think? Let's see. Reinforced weapon. Yeah, no, we're gonna save these now. We're gonna save these now for other stuff because we're getting to the point where I'm not gonna be using this much in the future, so.
Ah, there you are, unkindled one.
Yes. Talk first.
If you seek pyromancy, the lands of the place, well...
Alright, so, old tales. Okay, so, again, he's pointing us to Izalith, because there are stories that Izalith is one of the lands which have drifted to, Lothric and stagnated there. Well, okay, what are we gonna do about all that? Well, we gotta find it. So first, we're gonna look at Carthus' pyromancy tome.
Well,
ever seen anything like this? This inscription. This tome is from the catacombs. Fascinating. On this day, the teacher learns alongside the pupil.
So obviously we gave him a Great Swamp Pyromancy tome before this, but now we're getting a look at Carthus pyromancies. He obviously would not have expected that these catacombs in the area would have pyromancies, much less pyromancies that are so unique from the ones that he's familiar with. So again, he gets to learn something himself. As we can see, there's this sense of, one, Acid Surge. This was a pyromancy that was originally one of those fringe pyromancies that only remote regions would learn, and then they end up getting captured in the painting world, and nothing gets done with them in the wider public eye. But Carthus has used them. Now, if we recall, this type of corroding acid used to be a shtick with Jugo in the New World from Dark Souls 2. Because back there, Jugo had a bunch of giant ants. Again, think back to the sandworm. It's supposed to be this giant worm, giant ants, and it used to be very dangerous to try to get acid from them, because obviously they would use that acid against you when you try to invade their home. So, okay, especially considering people like their, I think if I recall correctly, their juvenile eggs were a delicacy or something to that effect as well. I may be misremembering though. That might just be a random headcanon. The point being, though, is that it makes sense then for Carthus to develop its own pyromancies if it's a successor to Jugo, because, like, okay, it understands the concept. Jugo used to use these acidic things in order to corrode the enemy armor and thereby make it much easier to kill. Well, Carthus isn't above fighting dirty either, so it's perfectly willing to create pyromancies to facilitate this. We also see, of course, Carthus Beacon, this idea that in a master stroke of efficiency, the signal to attack would be this pyromancy, which creates this bright beacon that people could see. So you can imagine all the soldiers lining up, and as soon as the different armies in different spots see the commander put on the beacon and the rest of them do the same, then finally, okay, that's the signal to charge. And the idea being is that, of course, this idea that Carthus aggression is like an uncontrollable fire. So again, lots of illusions, but the core idea is basically that Carthus used pyromancy efficiently for the purposes of battle. And then finally, of course, Carthus Flame Arc. This was a pyromancy in Dark Souls 2 we originally got from the Witch of Izalith's soul. The idea being is that Izalith was originally a sorcerer, a witch, and then she later, of course, became one of the founders of pyromancy. And because of this, her soul ended up deriving a spell that was like the magic weapon spell, but fire-based, to kind of reflect that idea. In Dark Souls 3, they sort of reimagine it as a Carthus attack, where it's like, okay, they will use a pyromancy so they could easily add fire to their curved swords, so that way, again, not only are they sort of hemorrhaging you of all your blood, they're also sort of cauterizing it with flames to burn you to death. So it's like, it's one way or the other, you're dead. And then, yeah, that's it for that. Now, one thing to point out is what he's about to say here.
Ah, you found a tome in the catacombs. This spell is akin to chaos. It may even serve as a link to Izalith, home of pyromancies.
Now, this is a very odd statement coming from Cornix here, because, well, there isn't really anything chaos-like about the spells that we got. Again, the closest thing we have is the flame weapon spell, but again, that's not really close to chaos. It just had to deal with how that spell was just kind of related in terms of how she was a sorcerer and she later invented pyromancy. So it's like, what the hell are you on about? Now, I think this is just a leftover from an earlier draft of the script. Again, you can read my post on Carthus to go into all the gritty little details on that. But the short answer is it doesn't really fit with Carthus as we see. Again, it looks like Carthus is the country that came here. Again, they developed their pyromancies completely independent of other nations and things like that. So it isn't like, oh, maybe they were influenced by Izalith in order to learn this. No, they basically seem to have done it all on their own. And then you have the fact that all the spells themselves just aren't chaos spells. So what the hell are you on about, boyo? But obviously the line is simply supposed to give us a hint that Izalith is connected to Carthus as an area, so therefore we should start looking around to try to find a way to get there. So again, I understand the narrative intent here by the writer.
Do not be gone for what?
Do we need anything from this guy? Nope. We haven't killed a boss yet, so we should be pretty good. Yeah, so nothing to worry about Ludleth. Let's go see Sad Boy. Come on, Crestfallen, Hawkwood. Old One, let me out! Go to your remake. Blue Point made you a nice, pretty game for you to enjoy. You don't need to be here. Stop visiting. No one likes you. Oh. Now we're here. Okay. Now, as you may notice, Hawkwood is not here. But we do, in fact, have an item left by itself, much like this sword. It's his shield. So we have this notion that Hawkwood has, where is it? Oh, there we go. He's left behind the shield that he's been using. It's mentioned how Hawkwood just didn't have the heart to have that same unbridled offensive that we see from the Abyss Watchers. He always had to have a shield for that protection. He needed that added security. As a result of that, he ended up, of course, deserting because he just wasn't that person that had the resolve to be an Abyss Watcher. However, we now see how the idea is that the Japanese clarifies that it's not that he the very possession of it was telltale of his defeat. The idea is that this is basically, it's representative of his quote-unquote broken heart. Now, the term crestfallen in Japanese more literally means heartbroken. We in English tend to think of having a broken heart in the romantic sense of, Anakin, you're breaking my heart, and all that, right? Like, it's the kind of like, but again, there is still that connotation, of course, of you, when we say stuff like lose heart or something like that, your will is just drained from you. Your motivation to go on, your ability to like kind of like persist is in fact sort of gone in that sense. So again, this idea of you being crestfallen is of course the idea of you don't have the resolve to push through in the face of adversity. Now, the fact that Hawkwood leaves this shield behind tells us that he has finally manned up, so to speak, and taken on the resolve to face what he couldn't do before. As we have shown him by our example of that it is possible to even overcome heroes with great effort. Now, the fact that the shield is here is great from a narrative perspective. It does cause some lore problems, though, because later we will, in fact, be able to meet Hawkwood again, and he will, he will still have the shield. So we have to either believe that, because of the nature of summoning, there's some timey-wimey shenanigans we have to go, like, we summon him in the future before we come here and pick up the shield that he leaves after coming back from his summoning here. Again, I wouldn't think too hard on this stuff when it comes to summoning and things like that, with the whole flow of time is stagnant and all that. The important thing is that this is how the narrative device is being used. We will see him again in the future, and regardless of how you try to rectify it all, we get the general idea. Hawkwood is leaving behind his shield to represent how he is now a new man who has the resolve to try to become a hero like we are attempting to. Okay, let us continue. Now, I think we're going to take a detour, like I said, because clearly Carthus is too basic to warrant the time devoted to it so far. Like we're quite early in the stream still. So let's go get all my favorite items. Now our mission here is to say hi to Anri. And hopefully not piss off all the skeletons doing so. Oh, hey, Horace. There you are. I actually don't remember. Are those oh, whoopsie. That wasn't my intention. I'm actually curious. Are those items there before Horace spawns in? I'm actually curious if they come with him or not. We're not breaking the bridge this early, so. Oh my gosh, you are so obnoxious. You brought the whole family. Oh, darn. Oh, hey! Hey! No hitting the waifu. Or slash husbando. This is a no death yet stream. All right. Oh. Hey. Hey, hey. I was not about to lose all those souls to a damn rat. Gotta make sure we don't get interrupted. Stay dead. There we go.
Ah, hello. We meet again. Have you seen Horace anywhere? Oh yes, I see. I've searched high and low with no luck. Perhaps he's left the catacombs. Oh, Horace, where have you run off to?
As we can see, the panic is really starting to set in at this point. It went from creeping to full-fledged, oh no. Oh, Anri, I don't know how I got in here, but, would you be a dear and, oh! Sorry. I just, don't want to get trapped.
Oh, Horace, where have you run off to? Have you abandoned me? No. What a horrible thought.
Yeah, she has no idea. Anri, whatever you do, don't look down. Now, Anri here has an abandonment complex, as we can see. There's this huge fear of being abandoned by people, which again gives us really into her psychology. She's likely been abandoned herself before, and she's afraid of it happening again, especially to the one person who she's always been able to reliably have with her through thick and thin, no matter what. They've never been apart for too long. So this situation is really starting to terrify her. But don't worry, the denial will soon set in again, and everything will be alright. Nothing happened to Horace. I mean, look! He's right down there! Look, I'm just gonna go down, make sure he's okay. There's no way he could have possibly ended up falling over the edge. Never. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, but brother. Should have waited an extra second. Okay. Now, as we can see here, this part of the catacombs across this bridge, which seems to have been built to accommodate the drift. Obviously, parts of the catacombs may or may not have been brought over properly. We don't know. We don't know how much of this is original Carthus and how much of this is original Lothric. Either way, we get this clear idea that Carthus has in fact adapted to the situation and have done quite well for themselves, all things considered. I'm sure her father cared for her, though, and her mother totally wanted to give birth to her. Yes, totally. Most indubitably. As we can see, though, the pomp and ceremony given to this chamber, despite being in tatters, to sort of show that this is Wolnir's chamber up ahead. Now, we don't really care about that for now, because we want to investigate down this secret ladder. Don't worry, Horace! We'll be coming down shortly! Anri's been looking for you! Hey, Horace! Can you shout back? Maybe the echo doesn't carry. Oh, a chaos demon. What are you doing here? Chaos demon? In my Dark Souls? Now, the last time we faced one of these was back in the Undead Settlement. It's hard to tell if he was specifically targeting the settlement or just kind of randomly going through. Either way, we will now be using him to clear up this area for us. Come on, Carthus boys! You can do it! I have faith in you! Believe it or not, I had a playthrough where the Carthus skeletons actually defeated our man up there all by themselves. I was very impressed. I don't know how they did it. I wasn't paying attention. I was like going over to the mimic or something. But boy, they proved themselves. Now, obviously, as we can see here, considering how rare it is to see enemies who will be in conflict with each other in the same area, we get this idea that Chaos Demons and Carthus are not friends whatsoever. Once again, Cornix is absolutely speaking bonkers. Oh. You done? You done, buddy? Okay, you're done. So again, we get this idea that where Izalith territory begins, and Carthus territory ends. Oh boy, of course you left one of them alive. Hey, get him. In the meantime, I shall be taking my class. There we go. Oh, okay. Nope. Oh! Ah! Ah! Don't scare me like that. Oh. Woo. Come on, Lloyd Swordring. Do not let me down. No, but my ass is flash will. Woo! Oh, and he woke the mimic. Oh, of course you woke the damn mimic. We got a soul of a demon, so we get our first look at a proper chaos demon soul. But let us watch a mimic in its natural habitat. See how it immediately goes back to disguising itself as that annoying little shit we have always known them to be. Oh, come on. Yep, I saw that coming. Come on. Now, of course, note the shekel on our mimic friend's hand, giving us the idea of it being a prisoner. Of course, the mimics in Dark Souls 1... Ooh, the mimics in Dark Souls 1 were some of the gods of Anor Londo, or, well, I guess we should say former gods of Anor Londo. Members of the clan who were, who ended up being expelled for their greed. And in karmic punishment, they received these special bottomless boxes on their heads and were cursed to be these security chests for the rest of their life. Now, these security chests were originally limited to Anor Londo. After Dark Souls 2, they got around, and so as of Dark Souls 3, it's no surprise that we basically can find them anywhere. It looks like they just played the wake-up animation backwards. I'll be honest, I'd have to see it again. I can't know without getting a closer look. Why did the Lloyd's Talisman open the Mimic, or at least sleep them? Honestly, the principle behind that eludes me as well. Mostly because the Lloyd's Talismans I get with the idea of you have Estus, which is the warmth of the bonfire. So, at least in theory, it's possible that similar flame magic, etc., might be involved with the mimics and their curse with the bottomless boxes. But again, it's hard to say because the idea is where do you go from sealing one's ability to drink Estus, which, let's be honest, it's a tough concept to grasp how exactly that works mechanically. Just kind of like get a little spray and suddenly your boy's like, huh, I can't drink this. And versus, say, a mimic who it's like, okay, they breathe a little bit of that stuff in and suddenly they can't stay awake long enough in order to do their duty. Yeah, it's a weird connection. But hey, it works. Now, the Black Blade, though, is something I can answer. Now, if players of Dark Souls 2 recall, you could actually find the wielder of this blade at Iron Keep / Broom Tower. These were the berserkers, the mad warriors that were mercenaries of some country that were hired by Drang Lake. They basically kind of went rogue, though, and kind of were doing their own thing, defending, either becoming like bellkeepers or just defending Alon's armor, presumably because he was also a katana bro, and they respected him or some shit. The idea being, of course, that this is one of their katana, and he was, one of these swordsmen was apparently a guest that Wolnir brought in. It's like, huh, that's very interesting, because, as we mentioned earlier, Carthus was a pyromancy culture, and eventually, though, we see how it got involved with the dark. So, okay, if it's fallen to the dark, where did that connection come from? Where did we suddenly realize, oh, hey, humanity's a thing that exists? Well, if Wolnir's bringing in a guest from Broom Tower, where, as some may recall, there was a certain monster of the dark, of the abyss, who had been haunting that land and was casting all manner of dark powers, including, but not limited to, black pyromancy. You can kind of imagine that Wolnir finds this undead and is like, okay, I'll bring it in, hear your story, after conquering up to the limits. Again, recall that Jugo is in the east of Drang Lake, and and obviously the Broom Tower is in the southernmost tip of Drang Lake in the eastern side. So we can imagine that Carthus goes to its limit, and then from there it can reach that land where the Broom Tower is, and from there we hear stories about the Black Pyromancy, and suddenly now Carthus, Wolnir's like, interesting, thanks for the information. Shh! I like your sword, I'll keep it. Now let's just keep it secure in this chest, and there, mine now. Wolnir, everybody. So yeah, nice little throwaway here to give us an idea of where exactly the pyromancy dark connection kind of comes in. And we'll see another bit of that as we look at Wolnir himself. Until then, now we see a pyromancer here, a sage, much like Cornix, who also wears the witch's ring. Now, putting two items here is very important, because it gives us the idea that, one, this is a master pyromancer who... There we go. The flame reveals all, the flame obscures all. The idea that they wear these bandages to block out light from the outside so they can see the fire of their pyromancy flame within. And it plays into this idea that basically all they can see is fire, but also that because fire distracts them so that all they can do is look at it, they don't see they don't really see anything else. So it's kind of this idea again: fire reveals all, it obscures all. They can discover and unlock so many powers from fire, but it also blinds them to everything else around it except fire. On the other hand, we also of course get this ring, which, yeah, it's stronger than the one we have here, so that'll be good. Yeah, here we go. Now, if some may recall, this is the exact same design used for the orange charred ring that was allowed us to walk on lava in Dark Souls 1. The only difference, of course, is it's not charred black, and of course there is no orange gem. So it is clearly of the same style. Recall that Ceaseless Discharge received this from his older sisters, the Witches of Izalith, because they wanted to allow him to deal with the pain that he's constantly suffering from his sore, that giant gaping hole that's constantly leaking lava. And so they were going to give him a ring that would have that power with chaos. Of course, this was very early on in Izalith's history. They were still kind of toying with chaos. They didn't really know what they were doing so much, and it ended up the plan ended up falling through with the whole centipede demon and all that. The point being, though, is that again, it makes sense that we see this same style of ring, and it seems that it has survived all this time. But most importantly is the story that goes behind it, where the pyromancers of the Great Swamp continue to remember this tale of when the witches, back before Izalith was ruined at the end of before Gwyn's firelinking. The idea being is that the witches earlier on in their history, how they would teach the humans who were living in their civilization how to learn pyromancy, and that as well as, of course, the teachings that Quelana taught Solomon, etc., or Salaman, etc., back in Dark Souls 1 to fear flame and all that. We have to, so that way they could control it, but also be wary of the limits of that control. Now, this of course comes with the implication, of course, that this is one of those rings that was given to the humans back then. And of course, with that comes the idea that it's not just a witch's ring, again, to reinforce that, it's actually a plural witch's ring. So the idea being is that it's not just a ring that was given by necessarily a witch, it was by all the witches, again, because it was a collective thing. These were, all of them, Quelana included, were working together with their mother in order to spread this new religion and magical art to first, to their civilization, especially the humans. And obviously the idea being is that this sage, despite being a so-called pyromancy master, he also wants to go to Islith because he is still but a pupil in the eyes of the old masters. So he wants to come here and relive the story of having the witches teach him the, as Cornix called them, the primal pyromancies, the first. Now in Dark Souls 1, Quelanas were explicitly referred to as the first, though you can infer from history that the idea is that all the chaos pyromancies that we encounter are also quote-unquote primal pyromancies technically. Dark Souls 3 acknowledges this. And the idea, of course, being is that chaos pyromancy was the first kind of pyromancy. The lava arts came first, then Quelana developed her non-chaos variant of the spells later. You hear that? That is an annoying mini-boss. Yep. Lars Titanite. There's our sandworm. Oh. Yep, that's expected. We will be getting to you later. No, I will not discuss the lore of this crossbow until we get up there and it's safely not killing me. Ah, darn it. I thought I could make it. I don't know how you managed to make that thing hit that stuff and then me without moving. Damn crossbows in this game. They're like the Dark Souls 2 crossbows. They just magically go to wherever you're planning to go. Lore! Lore, lore, lore! Don't worry, we're getting good lore. It'll come as soon... Oh! As soon as we're done... Oh. No! No! Oh, whatever. I'll come back for you later. You have got to be kidding me. What? Oh my god. You annoying little shit. Finally, a chunk. As we can see, there's our good pal Horace. There is a very unfortunate death. Poor buddy. I don't know how you managed to fall in a way that kept you like going with the rock hand so you impaled there, but you know, that's just unfortunate. The universe just hates you. Now, Horace, unfortunately, as we see, fell down here like so many others and ended up hollow. So, oh, putting out of his misery. Oh, this will be kind of easy. Now notice he uses a basic halberd, but he has a very peculiar shield. Oh, okay. Yeah, just keep that rolling, my dude. What? You're not dead! I thought that killed you. Okay. Bonk. Traded, brother. Now we get the Leowen shield. Now this is another item, which I can only assume we don't actually collect, much like Hawkwood shield, because we will, well, we'll see later on. But, as people may recall, Leowen, or Lind in the original Japanese, because Dark Souls 2 names were awful, and the localization thankfully changed them all. Leyweln here. This is a shield made, of course, from Gesteel. Seems like an innocuous shield for Horace to have. It's like, oh, he has another Drain Lake shield. We come a few of those, even if it's a little rarer than most. But it's like, no, 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 no. We will see. This is incredibly lore significant. Large Titanite shard. Large Titanite shard. And for our unlucky friend number 3, yellow bug pellet. Ah! You're a Carthus! You're probably one of the Gravekeepers, too! Man, that's just unfortunate. He was like a week before retirement as a skeleton. Some guys don't have any of the luck. I think that's all the items from this topside area, at least. One nice thing about my having a blessed weapon is that it'll automatically heal me back to full when I just lose a minuscule amount of health. Oh yeah, there's an item. Oh, I hate you. Oh, do I hate you. Now, as we can see some ruins that seem to be connected to the Carthus catacombs. But if you recall earlier, we had at the bonfire... Whoa! It had been called the abandoned tomb, quote-unquote. Chaos gem. Again, connection that this is Islip. Oh my god. Out. Okay, fine. I'm done. I'm done. We're going. We're going. Get risk here. Alright, break it! Come on. Come on. You can do it. Ow. Thanks for the push, I guess. As we can see, though, some of these Carthus ruins are fragile and can be broken to take us down here. Now, unlike the Carthus catacombs we saw earlier, these catacombs from the abandoned tomb onward, again, the idea being that all these are parts that were abandoned by Carthus because it now intersects with Islith and thereby demon territory, and the demons basically drove them all off. We also see how this has been long enough. Again, recall the grave wardens of Carthus went from young boys to old men. So it has at least been close to a century, and that time has been spent, since the Drift at least, overgrowing everywhere. Now, this is, of course, Smoldering Lake, a reference to the Ash Lake from Dark Souls 1. Now, fans may or may not recall that Ash Lake was, of course, underground beneath the Earth's crust. And it had all these trees holding up the Earth. We see the same thing here, except in Ash Lake, we obviously didn't have any connection point to Islith. However, the caverns, which Islith sat in, did in fact extend down at least below, at least obviously parallel, but also below Ash Lake. So, unfortunately in Dark Souls 1, because Miyazaki wanted us to have a nice view, Ash Lake doesn't reflect this, so we don't see Nito's or Islith's domain, because hey, who wants to look at that pretty ocean than having this giant column of rock blocking the way? It's just not pretty. So instead, we end up getting a bunch of, just getting a bunch of inferences in the first game, and then Dark Souls 3 decides to build on that by saying, okay, we're going to combine the Ash Lake area, as it was, with the portion that was supposed to be Islith, and create Smoldering Lake. Now, of course, the idea with Smoldering being it has remnants of the Chaos Flame that have been infused into some of the trees, into the air, and that power is... Oh. Oh, no. No. I'm sorry. Come on. Oh my god. That makes me sad. Oh well. Our first encounter with a demon deacon. Now, the deacons of Smoldering Lake are a step down, obviously, from the demon fire sages from Dark Souls 1. Now, the fire sages, quote-unquote, were in fact flame priests. So the idea being is that a deacon is a lower rank from a priest, and thereby these deacons use pyromancy, whereas the flame sages use the flame sorceries, which they learned before the witches figured out how to do pyromancy. Thankfully. There we go. Now, these demons have been called in the localization demon grooves, though if you look closely, they don't really have any of the similarities to grooves. Some have pointed to the fact that they have a second set of arms, that the grooves seem to have these strange arm-like appendages on their back, but if you pay attention closely, you'll notice that the grooves have them on their shoulder blades, while these demon deacons have them, of course, around their armpits. Ow. Oh, that hurt. So again, no real connection there. The feet are different. The tail's obviously different. The face is completely different. That isn't to say, though, that the grooves bear no connection to Izalith as a culture, or even on a physical sense. Now, before we mess any of this up, we will unlock this bonfire. This is the Old King's Antechamber. Now, of course, we're going to meet Old Demon King in the future. The point being is that this Tomb of Carthus, these lower reaches, have been converted into essentially a palace for the Old Demon King. Again, it would be nice to see more of a glow-up in a Dark Souls 3 remake, whenever that happens in the future, 2 decades or whatever from now. Oh, who's kidding? With the way remakes are coming, it's going to be like half a decade at most. You find grooves here? Now, I am not confident that I have the right weapon for this anymore, so let us switch out for my shield. Yeah, brigand axe. There we go. Let's see if we do more damage with this. I think it saves us a hit, which I will take. Oh, of course. The dodge rolls did not go the direction I wanted, so my bad. Alrighty, so the grooves have settled into Izalith as well. Again, recall the black pellets telling us that acolytes or grooves or whoever had in fact headed this far. It's not too unimaginable. Oh. You have got to be kidding me. Die. 1 HP! Ah! Should have grabbed my souls first. I deserve that. What was that, 20k souls or something like that? I'll go back with the VOD. You know, maybe I should be using my sorcery. Just a thought. It's also possible this area is just way too high for me, but we're here. There we go. Let's worry about the priest first, just so we can get some space from Poison Cloud Boy over here. Oh. Before he heals, let's... There we go. Come on. Should have done this from the beginning. I'll farm you later. Oh. And there we go. Some rotting grue gore. Now, notice how these grues are slightly different from the grues we see up top. They still have the characteristic bumps, but their horns are now styled much like the Demon Deacons. Again, this goes to how the idea is that the grue's form is based on their hyper-evolution in their environment. Since these grues have been staying away from the poison swamp, they are beginning to change in that respect as well. As we can see here, a person who bows down to the Demon Deacons, these Chaos Pyromancy casters. Notice how, similar to how humans, with their humanity, start turning into trees, with little plant life growing out of them, the Demon Deacons, with their souls being chaos-based, start growing these fungal growths. Now, again, Dark Souls 3, thankfully, gives us a wider look at what souls of different affinities would look like. So unlike, say, Quelaag soul in Dark Souls 1, which just looks like every other boss soul, this one has a more orange hue from a Chaos Demon. So we get this idea that Chaos, of course, does in fact give them their own element. Our buddy here is, of course, a Izalith Pyromancy user, or at the very least, he was studying with their tomes. And so the idea, of course, being that pyromancers come here, and if they survive the trek to get all the way down here, so far away in Lothric, they can learn the pyromancies of the old masters. Or at least all those that are left. We don't have to worry about that yet. Yeah, let's worry about up top first. Another illusory wall of Carthus. That's not so bad. Never mind. Oh no. Estus Shard. I don't think you can physically make this jump, but we'll try. Oh, no, we can. Okay. Oh. Not if I do that. Oh. Come on. Dang it. No harm, no foul, I guess. Ember. Fortunately, pretty generic items. Yeah, I deserve that. Alright, we're going down the stairs next time. We got the stuff I needed. I'm probably going to die a lot in this area after breezing through Carthus. I think I deserve it. Listen, mate. I'm just mad I lost my 20k souls, so... Can we, like, not do this? Greed is the fall of all men. Oh, okay, come on. You can't just like warp me in front of you to do the stab like that. Some poison, some toxic mist here. I can't recall if toxic mist is the ones up top too. If not, it's of course a hint to Engi. But we got more stuff to focus on here. Lost Islith, more like Found Islith. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Lost Islith is a bit of a misnomer, because the Japanese in the original, for Dark Souls 1, it's not just called, like, the Lost City of Islith, it's referred to as the ruined capital of Chaos Islith. So, again, one highlighting, of course, how it is a city of chaos. It's not... Chaos is, like, core to Islith as a civilization. And, of course, highlighting, of course, how it is in ruins. Now, obviously, when I say we're in Islith right now, we're, of course, talking about the land of Islith. The city we do not ever see. All of it is Carthus architecture that was abandoned after the drift when the Chaos Demons evidently moved in. We also, of course, though, see some of the old demons, like Capra, though they are dead, and we will see that that will be true for most of the demons, except the deacons. Yeah, no items. Lost and found, huh? Oh, you have got to be kidding me. Obviously, Gru degeneration occurs no matter where. There we go. Oh. Thank you. Thank you for waiting, buddy. I appreciate it. Your brother was not so kind. Is there a reason for all the demons dying, or is that more stagnation? Oh, no, there's a reason. There is, in fact, a reason. I do cover it in my Chaos Demons post, but we will go through it very shortly. I'm just trying to give people a further idea as we press inward. Now, obviously, we see it wasn't just... Islith didn't just move in with the demons, also their gargoyles, the demon statues. There we go. So it wasn't like that they were basically trying to move to the new city. Now again, we don't know what happened to the old city, though given the drift, we have to take into account the very likely possibility that large parts of the city were lost or left back at Lordran, and that other parts were brought here with at least the core of the demons. In Dark Souls 2, of course, we see the Chaos Flame has been moved, and the implications that parts of Islith were brought there with it. So this would be the second drift, much like with Anor Londo and Irithyll, between the events of Heidi and this game. Dang it! I saw that coming, I should have healed. The point, of course, being that Islith's basically probably already even in more ruins than it was in Dark Souls 1. Now we can avoid most of the enemies here and just focus on the doggos. Now the Grus here have clearly friendly relations with the demons. They're all buddy-buddy here. Even though, of course, all the demons are dead, save for the deacon, so... We will see more on their relationship as we get further in. Come on. Come on! Move it. Buddy. Like, you gonna... Okay. I mean, I won't say no. There we go. Honestly, having a shield for this section might be good more than sorcery. Oh well. Now, of course, we don't just see the old Capra demons, we also see the Taurus demons, so goat heads and bull heads. Now, someone asked me, of course, the significance of characters being taller or smaller. This is another example of artistic license where don't think about it too hard. Because how do these Taurus demons get in and out of these ruins with the door chambers this small? Obviously, it makes no sense. Don't think about it. If it involves a character getting in and out of a place, it just works. This includes even when characters are confirmed to be larger or smaller for varying reasons. Basically, never use size as a reason to strike against a theory for something unless you have lots of more solid evidence, more than just, oh, there's no way they could fit through this door. Clearly, the Chaos Demon just spontaneously generated in this area and then died. Duh. You can use the shield, just ditch the gloves. Yeah, maybe that's for the best. Actually, we've got a Black Knight up ahead, so... Now, a cool little bit of lore storytelling here is, of course, there's another illusory wall cast here, seemingly either by the Grus or with the cooperation of the Grus, or it could just be that they didn't want to show more of these ruins, so they just made a dead-end chamber. Whatever the case, we get this idea that there is, in fact, a more going on here than just a bunch of Grus patrolling a dead demon ruin. There's a Black Knight. Oh, whoopsie. Oh, buddy. Gosh, that was way too early. There we go. You didn't block as much as your brother. I'm appreciating that. Got some more rotten stuff. And another Black Knight. This one apparently died while his brother lived on to defeat the defending forces. I finally have my weapon. Where are you, my precious? There you go. What do we need? Oh, we can already wield it. Oh, actually, is it better than what I've got yet? Or do we have to upgrade it? Oh yeah, it's better. Of course it is. It's frickin' Black Knight sword. Oh boy, but we are light. Okay, we had our fun as the Fallen Knight. We are going back to Ooga Booga Barbarian Swamp Man. That should... Yeah, there we go. Now, as we can see, we get into this larger chamber. We can see some of the demons are basically being buried, in a sense, with their bodies hung up. Oh. This Black Knight sword is incredibly useful for this area, given that it is filled with demons for us to kill. Ow. Oh, how I missed you, precious. Oh, I finally feel like I've come home. Now we just need to get my Tarkus stuff, which means I'm going to be leveling Vitality in the future. Because look at that stat. Oh, boy. And I don't have Havels. This is going to be painful. Right. Should be only 2 in here, so we are good. Undead Bone Shard. I get attacked by the crawling carrion here. Now, naturally, crawling carrion in this area are incredibly smoldery, much like everything else here. They have unique fire attacks, but otherwise they are the same. But again, this is just because it's flesh infused with fire. But again, recall what we said earlier. Crawling carrion are often formed from resentment. There are lots of grudges of the dead here. And that dead causes some of them to be reanimated. So when you see all these dead, Hey, buddy, stop. You didn't need to do this. I didn't want to do this. Just let me do that. So there is this idea that all these demons isn't just stagnation at work here. They are in fact just dying. Apparently the ashen one is very crunchy. Listen, ash is very minerally. There's got to be a little bit of... Oh! Ow. Ah, darn. I can't stealth like I used to. Like the good old days. Alright, let's try not to screw up like we did last time. Oh, come on. Come on. Come on. Oh. Come on. Don't kill me. 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 There we go. There we go. Ah! I thought I could dodge roll you, but I could not. Let's deal with you. Phew! Alright. All for an ember. Again, more degenerations. Same old, same old. More of our deacon friends suffering stagnation and death. Die. Nobody likes you. We will now be avoiding our deacon friends because we want to go for the bonfire. So the idea, of course, is with all the resentment that's crawling, seeing all this crawling carry-on, or I guess smoldering carry-on, we get this idea that... Oh. Damn it! I saw that coming the moment I hit that wall. Oh, well. The idea, of course, being that with all this, when you hollow, you should be chewy. Yeah, sure. That makes sense. The underlying point, though, of course, is that it seems like there was some sort of conflict here that caused these demons to die. The deacons are acting like priests, of course, like holy men, and they are essentially trying to bury and give a funeral to proper final rites to the dead. By, as we can see, sort of setting them up in these little coves in the Carthus catacombs. Gonna come, or I think it's the grooves down there. We're going to ignore. We are going to make a run for it because I am tired of inching through this area to get to a bonfire. I hear you, worm. Now that we are deep into the demon ruins, that was a shriek and a half. Obviously, we're gonna find lots of embers here because, again, humanity getting charred by fire. Unsurprising. Ooh, that's gonna hurt. That's fine. I got the heal off. I just want the backstab for style points. I don't think there's anything over there we care about, so we can just kind of go down here and have our fun. Now, as we can see, there is a path all the way over here. This path is given extra ceremony by the demon, one of the few bits of Isolithian architecture set up in the lead up to it. So we can tell that there's supposed to be an important figure at the end, and if we pay close attention, we may recognize who that important figure is. Oh. Alright, there we go. Oh. It's always the damn rats. Oh, come on. Why'd you do the kick? Whee! Where are we going? Oh. There we go. Now, if I recall correctly, that's an illusory wall, so let's cover everything else. We're seeing more rats in this area, of course. Now, rats, of course, are found underground, as we see with the Rat King. There's lava. We don't want to go to that. However, the main point of contention here is the fact that there are watery bits down there. And again, we know how rats love their sewery-esque areas. Oh. Oh, come on. I was totally in... I totally should be able to get both of them in one strike. Oh, there we go. Oh! Oh my gosh, gotta upgrade this one as soon as possible. How many crystals do I have? Oh, I've got plenty. I got plenty of twinkling. We're good. We'll be looking at you short. Actually, let's look at you now. So as you can see, this is an illusory wall that's being placed. And you're like, oh, it's hiding something important. So what do these Isolithians want to hide? Huh? Well, that's weird. Like, sure, it's some decent titanite, I guess, but like 3 of that and you go to the trouble of an illusory wall? That's kind of weird. Huh. Well, gotta be sure. Oh, a second wall. So someone was expecting us to go through here with the first wall, see here, grab our stuff, be satisfied, and be on our way, thinking that's all there is to it. But it was a double feint. Oh. Hello, our little wall caster. Ah, I see. Our buddy did a little switcheroo. Put in the Isolith staff. Well, he took it with him and replaced it with the Titanite. And then pulled this little trick in order to start stealing away the sorcery staff of a witch. Oh no, that's why I'm in the wrong tab. I'm like, wait a second, these aren't staves. So of course these were the staves that they used to use when they were flame witches. We can also probably guess whose this is specifically as we continue onward. But again, there's this nice little vignette being told here. As we can see, our buddy ended up dying because, well, he was caught between a rock and a hard place. Clearly, there was something happening up there that he didn't want people to deal with and felt the need to take one of the royal treasures of Isolith and whisk himself away out the back door. But in the end, it turned out that there's an infestation of basilisks here. Now, once again, as I said before, basilisks absolutely love their humid environments. Whether this area is like this because of Ash Lake, or because it was supposed to be, again, another portion of the Carthus sewer system initially, it doesn't matter. We got our rats, and we got our basilisks, which seem to have pushed the rats out. Oh, don't want to risk dying here. I'm kind of impressed you didn't get caught in that, my friend. Alright, I think that's got most of them. As we can see, again, more trees and stuff are growing in this section. Where the Carthus catacombs once were, nature is reclaiming. Nature is healing. Also notice how the smolder disappears because all the fire has been doused by water. Also, we see a very familiar sight. These eggs, except hatched, belonging to the Fair Lady. We used to see these, of course, in Quelaag's domain back in Dark Souls 1. And they clearly have all been laid in this environment, because it seems to be that's a rather, because of the humidity and the cool, they're able to safely grow without it being too warm, I suppose. Whatever the case for their preferences. As we can see, another illusory wall, this time hiding the path we were denied going through previously. So clearly they were trying to hide this figure and take the royal regalia and flee to at least preserve that. As we can see, they were not able to preserve the person because this here looks to be all that remains of the fair lady. As we can see, these are at least her spider lower half, some of the eggs, which remain unhatched here. They haven't been moved down to the other chamber, clearly. And who is this leaning here? Except for Quelana. Now, in Dark Souls 1, Quelana had fled during the war against Gwyn, because when Gwyn and his buddies, the Black Knights, though at the time they were silver, invaded, she saw how her country was losing, foresaw their destruction, and decided she would run away. Well, things didn't turn out that way. Gwyn relented his onslaught and immediately returned home with a peace deal that was incredibly favored to him and all but guaranteed Izalith's slow destruction. And Quelana sort of was caught in a rock and a hard place where she essentially knows that if she tried to return home, she would have to face the family she abandoned. So she ends up wandering the poison, well, eventually becomes the poison swamp up above, and sort of, as she puts it, sort of pretends to be sort of questing, when in reality she's just a coward. Now, her character arc was, of course, completed in that game when we defeated the Bed of Chaos, and essentially, as she, in her view, allow her family to rest after 1,000 years of suffering after the war. There was no point in having chaos and all that continue any longer in her mind. After all, it clearly brought nothing but trouble to her family. Her mother's ambitions were simply too great, and it was only going to bring them more suffering from that point onward, so may as well end it right there before they try to foolishly prolong this this ambition of hers. Obviously, Quelaag would have disagreed, but hey, that's why she hired us, because we killed Quelaag. Then, as we can see, though, Engi always did say that it would, if Quelana really was out there in the poison swamp, like the rumors say, she would be an immense comfort to the fair lady, and this proves to be true. The two princesses reunited, and in the end, during this conflict that evidently happened, which has killed the demons, and ended up taking the fair lady's life, Quelana stood her ground and did not flee this time. This was the war where she proved she wouldn't run away and abandon her family again. It's a very touching and tragic scene to see here, kind of like unceremoniously left here, just implication, but I won't lie, it was an incredibly emotional scene for me when I first saw this during my very first playthrough. It's stuff like this that reminds me why Dark Souls storytelling is in fact special and should be lauded for what it accomplishes, of letting just the world exist and letting just your synapses put it all together based on all the knowledge you've accumulated over the course of a game, or in this case 3 games. Well, more like 2 and a quarter. I ended my Dark Souls 2 run after 20 hours, almost swore off Souls series entirely. Basically, you would not have Loki if not for Dark Souls 3 rekindling my love for the series. Like hell, I'm going to do that. Maybe later. Give me an orange charred ring mod, maybe. What are we going to do now? Okay, so Basilisks push out, infringe on their territory because they like the water. They push the rats out. They force this buddy trying to escape carnage with the demons. and he ends up dying, failing his actually quite ingenious plan. As a result, this area has basically been cut off from the rest of Islithian, from the rest of the ruins that Islet has conquered. So let's see what's here. Oh, there's Zorig in the flesh this time. Now, we can summon Zorig, which leads to the hilarious interaction that Zorig will fight himself. Now, I've always rationalized this as Zorig basically saying, if I can't beat me, then I don't deserve to live, so to speak. So he sort of lets himself be involved here. Nice. So he has no problem essentially fighting himself, because hey, if he likes hunting knights, why not hunt himself? He's the greatest knight of all. Again, Zorig's entire motivation seems entirely going against strength. Obviously, knights are honorable, they're legendary, they're heroes, they're the ones that the bards tell all the stories about. So he's going to want to show off his strength to there, though as he shows when he invades us, he's not picky. Also, I almost forgot to mention, among the knights that he likely hunted were, of course, dark wraiths, as he has a red eye orb to invade with. So again, all the subtlety. Zorig. Zorig. Give me my armor. Well, at least we get the sword, and I think Handmaid. Now, if I recall correctly, Handmaid is where we can now get Zorig's armor, old Tarkus's armor. Now, Zorig, no, I should say, no, the Handmaid, she is, of course, as I've said repeatedly now, a grave robber. So the idea, of course, is, much like Domhnall in past games, the idea is that, conceptually, she's the type who would loot the corpses of all the bosses and certain enemies we kill, and take all their stuff to sell, right? Now, is that what happens in canon? Of course, probably not. Her inventory, much like Domhnall in Dark Souls 1, where you could, like, even get, Gwyn's, outfit in New Game Plus and crud like that, and tons of other unlikely scenarios. It's probably just a thing where it's a cool concept that doesn't actually play out in canon. But again, cool concept. Moving right along, we see another Black Knight. Again, Black Knights can be found anywhere. You could literally drop them in pretty much any area in this game, and it would make sense, because they are just wandering ghosts in armor. Though, obviously, the fact that we find so many here may be trying to indicate that because they remember their fights with the Chaos Demons once upon a time, there may be some special allure they have when they start seeing more demons around. Ah, darn. I wanted you to... I didn't want you to be smart. Oh. I'm stupid. Oh. There we go. Sorcerer. There we go. Risk paid off. We shall continue on ahead. Now, once again, I will press Fallen Knight. I will now hurry up here because I want to deal with our lovely friend with the trebuchet. Well, I guess it's still a crossbow, technically. Or no, actually, it's called a ballista, so we'll just... Yeah, it's an automated ballista. We'll just call it that. There is a point where we have to drop, and we have to climb a ladder again. I just don't remember where it is. I'm just saying, whoever made these ladders, thank you. If it's Gilligan, I'll actually give him thanks for once in my life. Dragon Rider bow. This is important for later. I will talk about this as we get down and we can start looting the area again. First, we have to deal with our friend, the Are there any reviving enemies? No, right? So we should be good here. Everything is awful. Homeward Bone. Yeah, buddy, I want to go home too after this. Let's first deal with our friends here. I want to see how much damage we do. Come on. You have got to be kidding me. Okay, so I think it is better if we use the reinforced club. Oh, that's gonna bring us over, so we'll fully replace it. It's still better to use a blessed weapon in this situation. Come on. They may be wondering, what's Carthus doing down here? I thought these tombs were abandoned. Well, yes. But, obviously, Wolnir was a conquering king. He doesn't like the idea of losing territory, and he certainly wants to reconquer it. So it looks like this is a party, though, that would be possibly involved in that in the future. But their first primary mission seems to be dealing with the sandworm, as these enemies can actually drop the yellow pellets for defense. So there does seem to be this idea that Carthus essentially sent down a party in order to deal with the sandworm. And the idea is, okay, we'll make sure that this guy's not going to threaten Carthus again, because they don't know that it's basically deciding to lord over there forever. And then afterwards, they can think about reconquering the tomb now that the Chaos Demons are gone, and maybe in the future, bring war back to the surface. Unfortunately for them, we shall rain on their parade. Oh, there we go. No more Carthus conquering. This is, of course, a foreshadowing for the Irithyll dungeon, and as well as Irithyll itself. This gives us the idea, of course, that Irithyll had easy access to this location through this hole. We will actually see that there was once a staircase that connected down to this area. We can see a little bit of it here, though it's incredibly low quality. Like, holy hell, is that embarrassing. Goodness me, FromSoft. There was a time earlier in development where there were plans, in fact, for these areas to seemingly be connected this way. So, again, this makes sense. Now, as we hurry up here, we see more of these Carthus warriors. Oh my god. There we go. Let me lock on. Yeah, you're not having a good day, are you, buddy? Listen, I wasn't having a good day getting up here. Moving right along, we shall... Actually, let's save on the sorcery. Just endless bomb. There we go. Again, notice the red eyes to indicate strength. Again, it's not always just used to signify... It's not always just used in relation to the pus. These skeletons ain't got pus. I hate you. I really hate you there, buddy. As you can see, this is a very complex mechanism. It almost reminds you of the complex mechanisms that were built in Anor Londo, including the style of leather. But hey, probably just coincidence. We can also see that our skeleton buddies had killed the operators for this ballista, the giant slaves. So again, we have this reinforced the idea of, oh, we got some Anor Londo down here. Now, obviously, I'm not spoiling anything, saying that Anor Londo is Irithyll, or very much Irithyll is basically built up around what is left of Anor Londo, and this is how we kind of get our way back down. But we shall instead endeavor to show off some things. As you can see, this ballista is established. Now, obviously there's the gameplay reasons, but we can also see how there has been damage done to these trees closest within its line of sight, as if the ballista kept firing and firing and firing until it destroyed these trees, which are only starting to begin to regrow. We, of course, see more of what to expect from Ash Lake. Basically, just more lake and more arch trees. Notice how the arch trees here have so much overgrowth compared to how they were in Dark Souls 1. You also notice the stalactites, or stalagmite, whatever, however they're called, are incredibly long here. Lots of water dripping down from the surface into this cavern to form the lake. It's clear how much time has passed since the events of Dark Souls 1, where we could not see these types of things before. And we will not be seeing the last of this progression in time for this, this lower world. I think that covers everything we want, though, here, right? We can now swap back. Now we have to deal with our friend, the, Old Demon King. Now, I'm not going to slay Old Demon King this stream, I don't think. Or, you know what, actually, I'm going to look it up just to confirm with Orbeck to make absolutely certain that, he's not going to just leave us because I ended up killing one too many bosses on the way. Let's just try to... Because if I can kill Old Demon King and Wolnir, then we can just take a shortcut to grab Profane Capital instead of going straight to Sullivan or Aldridge, which I'm okay with, honestly. Oh, let's not forget. We gotta tell Anri. Oh. Yeah, give me that. I need it. As we can see, there are more items to be found around here. Oh, nothing here, though. I thought there might be. Is that? No, that's Smolder. We got our giant, ugly sandworm, though, over there to contend with, so... Okay, we're safe. Where's Torrent when you need him? I could have gotten across this lake in no time. I want a horse! Yeah, I don't have enough Estus Flask to deal with this. Shield of Wand, my shield. Oh, you know what? Oh no, we don't have any healing, so no. Yeah, we'll do this with full health and come back. Gosh, you are obnoxious. Ow. Well, should have seen that coming. Alright, laugh, laugh. Yuck it up. Ay, ay, ay. There you are. Hey, Zorg. Again, summoning is not dependent on whether or not a character is alive or dead, because you can obviously summon them from before they were dead. And thus they can theoretically fight themselves. Old Demon King's Chamber. Again, notice the ceremony. We're gonna take you too. We're gonna probably summon you for old Demon King fight because there's some cool stuff with you that's worth looking at. Where are my souls? Hello? Souls? Anywhere? Anyone? Bueller? 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 Ah, there you are. That was an Elden Ring jump if I'd ever seen one. Guys? It would be nice if you guys, helped out, went out in the field, did something. We're gonna be here a while. Oh, especially with... Come on. The sandworm. Now, if you look closely at the sandworm, you'll notice that it's actually an exposed rib cage in many respects for its design. And inside are lots and lots of corpses. If it'll stop moving for 5 seconds. As you can see, the hands and arms that are grabbing out. If you look inside its mouth, you will also clearly see the horrified faces of those who have been devoured. Oh my gosh, giving me vertigo, boy. There we go. Anyway, you can check my Carthus post for detailed screenshots, courtesy of Garden of Eyes. Now we don't do that. Alright, I'm going down after we run out of sorcery here. I'm tired of waiting. Ow. That hurt. Ow. Finally, you're gonna do something. What? Well, the summons are not as useful as I was hoping they would be. This is why I always do this fight solo. Where are those souls? Oh, there they are. I thought you were candles. All right, guys, feel free to tune in like 10 minutes because this is our life now. Thank God from this location he just spams this. Oh, he's dead. That was actually quicker than I remember. Now, as we can see, he has an undead bone shard, telling us that, of course, he has consumed undead. And more importantly, he has the lightning stake miracle, which explains why he has this lightning breath attack power. Because, as you can see, lightning stake. A lost dragon slaying miracle strikes with a stake of lightning, yada yada yada. This tale describes lost practices of ancient dragon slayers who found that in order to pierce dragon scale, lightning should not be hurled as a bolt, but rather be thrust as a stake directly into the dragon's hide to be truly effective. Lost practices. That is the important point. The idea being is that this is a miracle of old dragon slayers. So there are dragon slayers who apparently lived in this area, died in this area, were buried in this area out in the field, and the worm kind of gobbled them up as it's digging through the earth, doing its thing, eating people. So, and it tells us that it's this practice that has to, it needs to be, you don't just hurl them like we see with Gwyn to do so. If you are a true dragon slayer, you're out there on the front lines as the vanguard. You gotta kind of just thrust it in there yourself like a stake. And this is going to obviously connect as we get into Archdragon Peak. So yes. Now, the idea that there are these dragon slayers with lightning powers is, of course, very curious. And the game does, of course, explain that as we go on. But this is tying back into Lothric lore that is relatively important. Now, like I said, let us quickly take a look at what's going on with Orbeck. Can we kill Orbeck? Let's just see. Are we safe from him leaving us? Okay, so it's any 4 bosses, not 2. So, okay, we should be safe here. Okay, so yeah. Now that we've defeated Abyss Watchers, and yeah, we should be safe. No matter what happens. Because either way, I'm not killing 4 bosses. At most, I'll kill Sullivan, but I think we still want to do the detour into Profane Capital. But okay, we can do Old Demon King and then Wolnir. Whoop. Let's go up here. Let's cash in the souls so I don't lose 20k souls again. Before we do that, let's check at the blacksmith too, because Andre's probably going to be able to upgrade this, this sword.
That is good, wasn't he?
Yes. There we go. Beautiful. Now we need to get more twinkling, but otherwise... Okay, and then... Old Demon King... I don't think he's gonna require more than 4, but...
Pretty be careful, I don't...
yeah. Let's make our buddy here happy.
Ah, there you are, unkindled one. I am pleased to have a...
Yeah.
Ah, what have we here? A pyromancy tome from Izalith. Then you found the home of pyromancy.
Well, what's left of it.
Brilliant. I will never curse being old and undead again.
Haha.
Now, show it here. The primal pyromancy is known only to old Master Salaman.
Now, of course, if you recall, Salaman learned under Quelana, who did not teach chaos pyromancies, though she did teach primal pyromancies. So again, Cornix is sort of conflating the two because again, chaos pyromancies are also primal pyromancies just as much as Quelana's were. In fact, they predated Quelana's technically. So The idea being is, of course, these are the original pyromancies. Salamon learned those, though they were the non-chaos variety. It's clear that at least the people of the Great Swamp thinks he learned from Izalith, which, hey, you know, pretty much. He kind of stopped. He was going to Izalith, then he just happened to come across the witch in the ravine beforehand. It's like, you know, kind of got there earlier than expected, but still got there. And the idea, of course, being that the pyromancies that Izalith developed, they don't even require intelligence or faith to cast. They're all about the power of flame. We're not going to get a better one for a while either. So, ooh, do I want to sacrifice my level up for this? Yeah, because we're going to need pyromancy again for Irithel with all the ice. Ooh.
Heed my fear of the fire. The home of pyromancy, Izalith, was scorched by the very fire it created. Undoubtedly, it was a flame of chaos, tangled by a witch's hand. But who's to say that this bonfire's flame is any different?
Now, Cornix has never seen a bonfire before, because naturally he lives out in the Great Swamp. And most people don't see a bonfire unless they're involved with the undead mission and stuff like that. Obviously, most bonfires that we see are not canon. The point being, of course, is that Cornix has suspicions about the nature of the bonfire and, by extension, the first flame from which it stems. The idea being is the Chaos has already had this experience of being burned by a flame that it did not fully understand or control, and that we should be having similar reservations when we're dealing with the power of the first flame. Of course, it also just gives us a basic recap on Izalith lore. So it's not really a huge focus on Izalith so much as for the larger narrative themes that the game is tackling. Yeah,
What is a teacher without a pupil?
Actually, you know, we'll be right back.
I am.
Let us actually get through this still.
What have we here? By the gods, this inscription reads, Quelana, the ancient deity, one of the witches of Izalith. The last of them who wandered the lands. Then she must have returned to Izalith after all. But I regret to say, I cannot accept this. Quelana's pyromancies are for witches, and must be learned from a mistress. But thank you for allowing me to peer upon such a thing. If only I were a woman. Huh.
Now, besides being a reference to Freck from Demon Souls, this serves to give us an idea that, obviously, to even pyromancers who would hear all the stories of Salamon, it's just a story of him probably meeting Quelana, and that Quelana, of course, Quelana, of course, didn't want to go home. Now, the point being that for us, apparently, Quelana writes her pyromancy tomes in a way that only a woman magic caster could possibly understand and teach them herself. I don't know how that works. We talked about this first stream. It's an interesting concept to kind of break down and kind of rethink about. But apparently, of course, Cornix feels kind of bad because he's not able to teach us these pyromancies and thus by extension not learn them along with us. But hey, he tried his best.
Do not be gone.
Yeah.
What is it?
Orbeck, we're ignoring you now. I got what I wanted. Aegon is okay. Nothing else here. Yeah, Hawkwood's flown the coop. We're still not progressing Leonhard's quest. Yeah. And, yeah, we don't need to worry about Patches, because Patches will handle the Grey Rat stuff once we get to Irithel, yeah. Let us return. Yeah, let's do Old Demon King. I don't think I'm forgetting anything too important, right? Like, oh yeah, I have to get the Zorig armor from Granny later. But, like, I've already used a lot of souls. Yeah, so we're good here. Now we're going to do ranging with the Demon King, with maybe a little bit of this, because I'm sure this does good, decent damage. Good chunk of damage. Now, our focus here will be, we're going to make old Demon King really strong with all these summons. Mostly because I really like this boss fight. Now, Old Demon King is, of course, as the name implies, an old demon, seemingly from the era of Dark Souls 1, who we never encountered in Dark Souls 1. I think he feels very fortunate about that, considering what we did to his brothers. But he seems to be a survivor. He has a piece of the Flame of Chaos embedded in a giant piece of rock, which has been carved into a great hammer. This is why the old Demon King is known as the last one to know Old Izalith, as he's the only one to have this direct experience. All the other demons seem to be born later by the fair lady, who apparently got well enough to start hatching her eggs properly. Obviously, Quelana was also here to help out, and even after the drift, as we can see, they were able to move in, kind of rebuild. Humans were still coming through every now and then, and these pyromancers were interested, except for her. Cuculus here is, she's like, yeah, I'll kill a demon. I don't care. I just want the pyromancy. This civilization is toast. Doesn't matter to me. Now, Cuculus is named for a cuckoo bird, which of course always invokes ideas of being a little bit, you know, cuckoo. So we will see how that plays out with her playfulness. She also uses poison pyromancy, so again, she's likely motivated specifically by the search for Engi, who is of course a servant of the Fair Lady, and so is likely among the humans living in this new human-demon-god civilization. But let us carry on. Now, before the boss fight begins, we see that this is the old Demon King. He looks down on the ground, but if you pay close attention, this isn't him down on the floor like the rest of the dead demons. He is actually on his feet already, so it looks like he's just sort of resting, like he's tired and exhausted. He's kind of like taking almost like a nap after all the work. You can even see the... it's kind of cool how you can kind of see the steam coming off of the lava rock there. So again, previously, demon fire sages with their lava rocks were able to create their sort of flame sorcery staves using the lava rock that they kind of sharpen into a blade as a catalyst. The Demon King does something similar with his hammer, though he only uses stuff that seem to be more of the vein of pyromancy. So we do know he's a demon that doesn't come from the Fire Priest era. He comes from a later era when pyromancies were known. He's probably just an average demon warrior who happened to also know pyromancies to some extent. He had some of what was left of the old chaos, which after, as we know in Dark Souls 2, the old chaos gets moved all the way over to Ilium Lois's location, where it seems to have since been, well, gone. And all that's left here are the remnants, which the demons try to stay close to and preserve, because this is all that's left of their civilization as they slowly die out. One thing to note is we can see the centipede demon from Dark Souls 1 here. This is one of the few instances where we see evidence of a boss who is killed in Dark Souls 1, usually mandatory, alive, though of course the boss is technically optional if you are part of the Chaos Covenant. So either canonically we join the Chaos Servants and get the shortcut to betray the Fair Lady's trust to kill her mother, or we have to keep in mind that the Centipede Demon is characterized by its hyper-regeneration qualities. We never get a boss soul from it. We only ever get the ring, and that is if we do not cut off a piece of the its quote-unquote tail or one of its heads that would possess the ring. So of course the idea being is that this creature, with its many heads, its hyper-regeneration and all that, could have easily survived the events, much like how Dark Souls 2 retconned the Flame of Chaos of surviving the events of Dark Souls 1's Bed of Chaos. So Chaos Demon's there. As we can see here, the old Demon King has been piling them up. we can kind of get the idea of how they're being piled up and then brought over to the demon deacons inside, so that way they can then perform the burials. There's lots of demons, and even though it's likely been quite a while, at least a year, the old Demon King is still gathering bodies, and as we can see, it is exhausting. This seems to be his final pride, his royal duty for the civilization he worked so hard to try to preserve and keep alive. Unfortunately for him, it was not enough. As we approach, we will see him light up, and the fight will begin. How much damage do I do? Oh. He does damage to me, though. Yep. Old man still got some spunk in him. Okay, serious this time. This is what I get trying to go into a fight casually. Don't make me sorcery my way through this entire run, Demon King. I'll do it. Beautiful, aren't I? I'm just gonna get my souls. Yeah, he's got good enough health. I think we'll be fine. Oh boy, but this sword, yeah, this sword destroys him. As we can see, he does stuff like Great Combustion. Again, giving us this idea that he is more like a pyromancer than a sorcerer. Obviously, he does not necessarily use the pyromancy flame as we typically think about it. He more or less draws on it directly from his body, because obviously, again, he is quite familiar with chaos. Phase 2. This is where he will start conjuring up meteor lava rocks to hurl down upon his enemies. There goes Zorig. Oh. Brings in the fire. Yeah, there's no way. No way I need 4 class for this. Oh. Wait, I gotta keep you alive, Cuculus. Oh, you're out. Oh, you're dying. We gotta... Oh. Cuculus is dead. Well, this was kind of a joke fight, so... Oh. Yeah. So yeah, let's reset this. I was gonna just homeward bone, but death is good. Now we're not going to summon Zorig this time. We will just do the fight seriously. Now I'm going to try to make the Wolnir fight last. But somehow I get the feeling it ain't going to play out that way. Sorry, buddy. Sorry, my High King. Chaos Combustion. Why wasn't that a spell? Oh. Okay, sure. Ah, dang it, outrange. Oh. Phase 2, more chaos. He's really putting his, putting everything he's got. Dang it. I should not have dodge rolled. That was a mistake. Now that was a legit just dumb play on my part. You're making me use all my embers. There we go. But yeah, this fight is, this fight will be a victory next time. Aw, dang it. I think I might have been able to dodge that even without a roll, honestly. That looked like it might have gone over my head. Alrighty. Nope. Should be hitting phase 2. There we go. Alright, let's go. Now he will explode, releasing the last of his embers. No! No! Cuculus! Come back! Come this way! Yes! Yes! No! 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 Cuculus! Don't! He's just an old man! Let him live! He deserves it. He's had a hard enough time. What's you with murder, girl? Now, of course, as we can see, with the poison now finishing him off, it is over. Now, Cuculus. Oh, Cuculus didn't do it. Cuculus will have a habit of, unfortunately, not done here, but she will cast a poison cloud, which I wanted to showcase, which she will then run into right after, and as she disappears. Again, showing off kind of her kooky, playful nature. Darn, didn't get to show that off. I also didn't add the shield that I love so much, so we didn't get extra souls from that. Where's my Drain Lake shield? Oh no, here it is. Shield of Want. That's gonna be another one. Oh boy. Yep. It's time to dump into vitality. This is gonna be so painful. Yeah. Oh well, we don't need you anymore, so... Yeah, we should be fine against Wolnir. Demon Ruins... Firelink Shrine. So, just don't mind me dooming an entire race. No, we're not worried about Zorig stuff first. Let's.
Farewell, Ashen Maiden.
That should let me add this for next time. Now we want to upgrade you to as fast as we can. Reinforced flame. There we go, beautiful. Until we get to old Demon Prince.
Do not be gone. What is it?
Yes. Didn't want to fall there. How much is Zorig's armor? Yeah, see all the different people we've killed. So you kill an exile, gives you that. You kill Horace, gives you that. There's the Black Knight stuff we want, Abyss Watcher stuff, yeah, all of it. Yep. Legion, we're not very popular, but we'll talk about that more next time. We'll talk about her stuff there, much like how we talked about Ludlith. Speaking of Ludlith, let's get one last look at some of the... you know, we'll do it next time because it's just the old Demon King stuff. We still got bosses to beat. Abandoned Tomb, Demon Ruins, Old King's Antechamber, yeah, Catacombs. Now we're going to have the funsy fun time with Wolnir. Now, as we've talked about already, Wolnir is a tyrant. He was a conquering king, and then he realized, hey, I can live forever and never lose power if I join the dead. So he did that. Now, before that, he ended up falling to the abyss, as his kind are wont to do. I love being able to just one-shot these things without even trying. Anyway, he fell to the abyss after meeting a distinguished guest from one of the undead berserkers from Dark Souls 2 at Broom Tower. This put him in contact with pyromancy when he investigated in dark pyromancy. Of course, he killed the guest beforehand after getting such useful information. And made it his shtick to cast black pyromancy. I mean, Carthus already had great power with its pyromancies, and they've never been particularly scrupulous on where their power comes from. Again, recall the Acid Surge. Who cares about honor when you're a pile of melted flesh and twisted bone? Though, unfortunately, Acid Surge does nothing in terms of damage, so... Shame, that is. Shame.
Oh, Horace.
God, you have low scale on that.
Where have you gone off to? Have you abandoned me?
No, don't worry.
Goodness me. To think there'd be a lake so deep within these catacombs.
All you had to do was look over the edge,
What
lady.
relief. I I knew that Horace was alive and wouldn't stray far.
I love how we tell her how we find Horace, but not in what state we find him. And this is after very clearly seeing him from up here.
Please take it.
Yeah. Ring of an Evil Eye. Now, as we recall, the Evil Eye was a creature which attacked Astora. It was, of course, didn't survive that attack, hence why we see its soul being used in ring form. Multiple rings, as of Dark Souls 2 tells us. But, hey, it's kind of cool to see, again, this idea that Anri has a very close connection to Astora, even though Astora is a destroyed country. And Andre, the only other Astoran we know, doesn't talk about any connection he once had to it. Strange, that. Oh my god, I did it again. How do I keep doing this? Listen, Anri.
Please stop this!
I completely get you. I'm with you 100%. We'll come back down here for our goodies later. Come on. I love it every time. As we talked about last time, we can see all the pomp and ceremony given to Wolnir's chamber, but you can expect that. He's a king. He is the High King, the High Lord. Now, again, make sure that our High Lord only gets the fanciest. Unkillable one's like, oh, cool, a cup. Oh, well, I'm just gonna continue on, yada, yada, yada. Huh, what? Why can't I open this door? It's almost like I'm scripted to do this, because my unkindled one has to be stupid and touch the goblet that has a freaking skull on it. Listen, I know it kind of stands out with this altar, but you'd think we'd be smart enough to be like, you know what, that sounds like bad news. I should just skip it and move along. But nope, game won't let us open the door. We also don't see any humanity in these pots, which should be a cause for concern. That noted, yep. So let us move right along. Touch the goblet. Whew. Now, this is the skull of a quote-unquote noble king, as we learn in the game files. The idea being is that this is someone who had a very pious and sacred life, and so has more holy power in him. This is why his skull was used in this ritual with the Abyss in order to create this dimension where we encounter Wolnir. Now, the cut item description for this tells us about how the idea that it drags you into the world of the dead, almost, right? So, very apt, as we can see. The idea that Miyazaki and company are going for. Now, this is the closest we will ever... I hear you. This is the closest we will ever get to seeing Carthus. They end up using this brown texture for desert sand, along with a few plants and stuff. But the idea seems to be that a piece of Carthus was essentially taken and dragged into this abyss. Again, we've talked before about the idea of the dark having dominion over space, so it kind of creates its own dimension similar to the painting world by dragging in a piece of existing of Carthus. Now, the game obviously wants to give us our spook, so let's do it, even though we can see the illusion if we, again, move your camera. Oh no! Jump scare! As we can see, Wolnir is absolutely covered in the abyss. It's this fog that will in fact kill us if we get close. It's how the game tries to, of course, keep us far away, as Wolnir will try to climb forward until we get to the back, where he will have us killed, as we can see. Notice all the smaller skulls that Wolnir has essentially attached to himself. We can find even more at the back of his body, but we will not be checking there. There we go. Now, Wolnir was actually afraid of the dark. More on that later. So, in order to make this dimension work, we see he not only used the Holy Cup to help create it and as a sort of vessel, we also see him use this holy bracelets and a holy sword, which he stole from some clerics whom he killed, presumably during one of his many conquests. Carthus does not prove to be a very religious nation, unsurprisingly. Wolnir does show some necromancy skills, bringing in skeletons and the like. The Gravekeeper we find dead here is clearly one of his victims of his tyranny. So again, we get an idea that he's a bad boss. The crown we'll talk about later. Also note the cloak. It's easy to forget, but he does in fact have this massive cape for us to enjoy. It's funny, I have no fear of this boss whatsoever. Now, every time... Ooh, is he gonna... No, this is for summoning the skeletons. So this is him casting some necromancy. Oh, no! Now, every time we destroy one of his holy stuff, the mechanic has him where he's knocked back a bit, so we're not up against the wall. If he was a more challenging boss, this would actually kind of be a cool interaction. Oh, of course you summon. Of course you summon, skeletons. Here we have Wolnir bringing up his holy sword, dragging it out, and he will now use it. Again, if Wolnir was a more fearsome boss, this would actually be, again, a very cool attack we can see. Come on, do Wrath of the Gods. Or don't, I guess. Ow. Alright, we're getting... I wanted to show off his Wrath of the Gods attack, but... There we go. Oh! I got too deep and attacked. Lost to Wolnir! Whee! Okay, now let's do the serious fight. No Wrath of the Gods, I guess. I have low health, I don't want to risk it. I don't know if I'll survive that ball. Oh no, I am so terrified of what will happen to me. However, will I make it? Oh no, here they come. Whatever will I do? Well. Now for the Skelly Bro. Let's see, maybe I'll try to get Wrath of the Gods again. I'll just, like rapid fire to phase 2, and hopefully we won't... If I stay close to him, he won't do anything stupid. Hey, I said don't do anything stupid. Oh. Oh! I said don't do anything stupid! Whee! I'm the one who did something stupid, apparently. Yeah, yeah, we get it. Alright, for real this time. We're gonna win. Come on. Come on, come on, other people. Wait, did I not break the bridge? Oh, okay. I could have swore I hit it, but I must have not been paying attention. Whoops. Whoopsie daisy. Now, Wolnir, old buddy, old pal. We know how this goes. You can kill Wolnir regularly, though why would you? It just leads to a normal death animation. Killing him with this giant glowy bits is cooler. Now, he uses these holy materials in order to keep him safe in the abyss. There we go. Come on, pull it out. Come on, pull it out. Come on, pull out the sword. Come on, old buddy, old pal. Dang it. Too slow. Oh! I dodge roll a little too late. Up. Oh, come on. I am not dealing with your ads. Sorry, mate. I'm just not. Get dragged into the abyss. Off with you. Go. Nobody likes you. This is why. Ah, oh well. No Wrath of the Gods effect. You can see on my website the screenshots for it. Again, courtesy of Garden of Eyes. You can get a really good idea of what it is. Now, as we can see, with Wolnir, the reason that this dimension exists gone, it's now all collapsing in. And congrats! We did the Abyss Watcher's job for them. Now, the reason that Wolnir felt the need to rely on holy power is because he is, despite the fact that he fell to the Abyss, he was afraid of the dark. For good reason, considering that when he decided he would be a skeleton, this means that he no longer is a living human, and therefore no longer able to get many of the same benefits as a living human. He still has his humanity, of course, but he no longer has that flesh, and he didn't want to be undead, clearly, because he didn't want to deal with hollowing, so... He bet on the wrong horse. He thought he could live eternal without any of the downsides of the undead curse by becoming a skeleton. Didn't you have to risk turning undead or any of that stuff, so didn't you have to play the lottery? But it was all for naught. Now, from a localization perspective, yeah. We can talk about how, the idea here is that Lord Wolnir of Carthus sentenced countless souls to gruesome deaths, keen to outlive them all. This isn't quite accurate. The statement here is the idea is basically, it's saying that basically after Wolnir caused so much death, he basically decided he eventually decided to become the last of the dead. So again, this is referencing the idea that Wolnir basically killed everyone, as we saw. His soldiers helped out, and they offed themselves, and then left the Gravekeepers take care of them, and the same was true for Wolnir. He offed himself, and then he was brought back, of course, as a skeleton, as we know. this necromancy allowed him to live on, and he would basically rule his own little kingdom of death and catacombs, never having to be bothered by anyone, with absolute power forever. Again, quite a evil man, and I really like him as a villain because of that. He's not into all the big politics happening up top. Wolnir's just like, I like power. I'm pretty happy with my slice of power that I've gone after a lifetime of battles and conquest. I want to keep it forever. So I'm just gonna, like, literally deprive myself of any of the joys of being human. Eating, drinking, sleeping, procreating, all that stuff. Just so that way he can hold on to power. The same thing happens, of course, with the Dark. The whole reason he was interested in the Dark, as we mentioned earlier, was because he wanted power. That sort of plays into what we're going to see here. Let's move back home. There we go. There's our boy. My boy, Ludless. Begins the transposition. Now, we're going to actually keep old Demon King's soul because I actually want his vestiges. Yeah, we want this. I don't want this, though. Yeah, so... Again, Holy Sword that he took. It has a Wrath of the Gods effect. Obviously, it's been consumed by the Abyss, so we don't know how long Wolnir was even able to last with these holy relics. Obviously, eventually, the Abyss will eat away at their power, much like what we see with the idea of the Deep and souls trapped inside of it. But hey, that power is still great with the Wrath it gives back, so hey. And then we also see, again, this idea that it's a vestige of the seedbed of chaos. And the important bit here is the Black Serpent. Now recall in Dark Souls 2 that at Broom Tower you could acquire Fire Serpent. It was an ability by Aegil, who was a servant of the Old Iron King. He was helping manage Broom Tower and was heavily involved in many of the ironwork creations there for his king's behalf. As part of his personal interest, he was pursuing fire because he wanted to eventually create a living fire, which was, of course, supposed to be realized with the Smelter Demon from Dark Souls 2. He made a prototype, obviously, at Broom Tower, and then they tried the final product back at Iron Keep, and, well, things didn't work out so well. The point being, though, is that Fire Serpent was, of course, the idea of him trying to work on creating something that was almost like it was alive. Obviously, when you add the Dark of Humanity into the mix, suddenly the fire is alive. And so, again, we see this idea that Wolnir learned from someone from Broom Tower about the Dark and stuff that was being done with Nadalia there, and then sort of he came in, realized the secrets, and Dark Pyromancy spread amongst the Carthus warriors. Now, Carthus Pyromancy is also clarified here. Oh no. There we go. With the Gravekeepers, again, much like all the stuff they kept from their Knight Masters, they also kept these Pyromancy books. As we can see here, this Squire Pyromancer became one of the Grave Wardens, and they, of course, are keeping the Black Flame. Now, one of the problems that Wolnir had, of course, was that he feared, is it his soul or something else? No, it was the sword up there. There was the statement about the idea that he fell to the Abyss, but he feared the true Dark. This is actually, again, not inaccurate to the Japanese and what it says. You'll see in my translation, though, I translate this as his own Dark, because there is a bit of a nuance there, where, again, similar how in Dark Souls 2, Vendrick is, noted to how, oh, he imprisoned his own brother, right? His true brother, his actual brother. The idea being his own, it's not just, it wasn't a stepbrother, it wasn't like someone who you could say is distant, it was like, his legitimate flesh and blood that he imprisoned. And we see the same thing here, it's his own Dark, he fell to the Abyss, so the concept of, like, a philosophical fall and allegiance to, the Dark, okay, so Wolnir did all that. But, when it came to the real Dark, when it came to his own Dark that he was dealing with, all that power, he was scared of it. He was scared of it dragging him away and forever and ever. And that's why with the necromancy, he was also doing these rituals in order to create a dimension where he could fully immerse himself in that Dark while being completely protected from it. So, and we sort of rain on that parade by destroying his stuff. Yes. Give this.
I'm afraid I cannot accept this. This pyromancy tome is dark and delves into the depths of men where an untouchable flame resides. I cannot comprehend this myself, let alone teach it to you.
Crazy.
It is a spell forbidden in the Great Swamp, and nearly everywhere else too. Only one terribly afflicted or burdened by deep sorrow could begin to understand this.
Now, as we established earlier, pyromancers, despite being heretics, do not like the dark. They are totally fire huggers. As we can see, they wear these bronze amulets out of this superstitious belief, or honestly, it's not entirely ungrounded, but anyway, out of this belief that the bronze and brass and all that, copper will protect them. It will send the evil spirits of the dark away. Doesn't exactly work out that way in practice, but hey, it's something. It does give us a bit of dark resistance on this equipment. Another thing about what Cornix is making a point of there is, of course, that with Yuria coming up shortly, there is the idea that there is, of course, you have to be a pretty wretched person to who knows the dark and thus has been shunned and outcast, even worse than pyromancers apparently, to understand, to be able to understand how to teach these pyromancies. But that isn't our buddy Cornix. Okay, I think, yeah, let's do the level ups. What am I not going to be using? We're not going to be using you. We're not going to be using you. And yeah, we're not going to be using you. Let's start getting that vitality stat up, so that way I can start using my Zorig equipment. I need to get back in there. I don't even mind if I fat roll. I'll just frickin' pyromancy and sorcery my way through everything, I guess. Ugh. I'm gonna say that and then regret it immediately. Okay. Level up.
Farewell, Ashen.
Yes. Now, I understand why everyone hates this, in terms of having essentially a stat dedicated almost entirely to just making sure you can wear heavier equipment. It's not my favorite implementation, but I do understand why they did it this way. I still prefer how they do it in Elden Ring.
Well, then take. Farewell, Ashen One.
Alright, let's get an idea of... Can I at least buy the helmet? That I can.
Ashen 1.
And then I'll probably farm for the rest later. Let's see. Where are you? There you go. Perfect. Now I can hide my ugly mug. Now, oh wait, what? Oh, I still fat rolling, huh? I did not pay attention. Oh, just. Oh boy, it's gonna take a while to increase that stat. Oh well. Fashion souls will wait. In the meantime, let us wrap things up by going to Irithyll. I think before that, next stream we're gonna have to go down to check up on Anri or Horace. And we come up. And we are here. What a shot. Now we'll discuss the lore implications next time. Alright, people, this was a really long one. This is another one that I didn't want to split up. Wanted to make sure we had plenty of content to justify a stream, and, well, we got plenty of content. We'll have a lot to talk about next time, of course, with Irithyll. This is where things get really juicy now that we're at the mid-game. We might also backtrack to head for Ariandel, possibly, around this point. Again, this is where things really kind of open up, I feel, and we kind of start having some real fun. So we'll see. We'll see how things go in the next few streams. Until then, I'll see you all next time. Thanks for tuning in. It was great to hear from you guys. Good questions as always. And bye for now.